Chapter 931. In the air beside Qin Wentian and Huataishu, Zi Qingxian and Jun Mengchen appeared one after another. Jun Mengchen spoke. What's wrong? These old members of the Xiao sect can't do it, but the Twin Stars Alliance is planning to use their entire sect to deal with the five of us? Qin Wentian, you guys are too impudent. Xiao Lingyue's countenance was as cold as ice. Before this, she wanted to obtain the god's hand from Qin Wentian, and even resorted to using her beauty. But now, when she saw Qing standing beside Qin Wentian, she understood that from the start till the end, she was nothing but a joke in the eyes of Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian had never had any intentions towards her. He was originally a couple with the daughter of the Chongqing the Great, Qing. You are allowed to deal with my junior apprentice brother and sister, but I'm not allowed to deal with the people of your Xiao sect? Qin Wentian turned his gaze onto Xiao Lingyue, his countenance similarly cold. In addition, the five of us fought against over 10 experts of your Xiao sect in an open and above-board manner. Isn't this the rule of the competition between geniuses in the city of ancient emperors? Xiao Lingyue, it seems that I've overestimated you by sending so many geniuses to deal with my junior apprentice brother and sister. So it turns out that you, the number 6 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, are so weak. Shut up. A terrifying coldness gushed forth from Xiao Lingyue as she spoke. Before this, all of you pitifully joined my Xiao sect. My Xiao sect protected all of you, but who would have thought that all of you would be such despicable people, making use of me? After obtaining the god's hand, you immediately revealed your despicable side. I, Xiao Lingyue, have truly been blind. Your words are truly shameless. Zi Qingxian couldn't bear to continue listening to this. This Xiao Lingyue wasn't willing to accept the painful lesson from before, and was still consoling herself now. There's no need to argue about right and wrong, it's meaningless. Qin Wentian stepped out as he spoke. Xiao Lingyue, we have yet to form a death grudge. If you still have some backbone, why don't you fight me one-on-one? Do you think we need to fight you alone? Xian Yang's killing intent was extremely heavy. Because of Xian Xing's death, he and Qin Wentian had become mortal enemies. He would never let Qin Wentian off. If there was a chance, he would definitely kill him. You want the entire Twin Stars Alliance to attack together? Sweeping a glance at Xian Yang, Qin Wentian sneered. What a joke. Do you think I'll play with you in such a battle? If I want to leave, Qing'er has a spatial immortal treasure on her. Who would be able to stop us? I will wait for you two at the Xiao sect. Xian Yang, you and Xiao Lingyue are both rankers on the Immortal Ascension rankings. If you can still be considered a man, why don't the two of you fight against us? The hearts of everyone trembled when they heard Qin Wentian's words. When they thought of Qing'er's identity and the strength she was proficient in, they couldn't help but to think that Qin Wentian and the others were already prepared. Indeed, if the Twin Stars Alliance wanted to join forces against the five of them, there was no need for Qin Wentian to face them. He might as well leave. The entire Twin Stars Alliance had over 100 geniuses, and there were even quite a few rankers on the Immortal Ascension rankings. How could Qin Wentian's group of 5 fight against them? The reason why Qin Wentian was waiting here was because he wanted to settle things with Xian Yang and Xiao Lingyue. He would join forces with Qing'er to fight against Xiao Lingyue and Xian Yang. 2 against 2, it would be a fair battle. The gazes of the various geniuses all landed on Xian Yang. If he didn't agree and chose to gang up on them, it would be meaningless for Qin Wentian to leave immediately. Xian Yang would surely be criticized by others. After all, he and Xiao Lingyue were ranked number 4 and number 6 respectively, while Qing'er was only ranked number 5, lower than him. As for Qin Wentian, he was currently only ranked number 100 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. Even if it was 2 against 2, it seemed that he and Xiao Lingyue still held an absolute advantage. There was no need for them to cower. Qin Wentian seemed to have made a request that Xian Yang couldn't reject. He wanted to take revenge for Xian Xing, so he had to rely on his own strength to kill Qin Wentian. He didn't even need to borrow an immortal ranked weapon. If he used an immortal ranked weapon like before and Qin Wentian risked his life, the ending would be one where both sides suffered heavy losses. Qing'er would also be able to bring him away, only to see Xian Yang turning his gaze onto Xiao Lingyue. In the previous battle, Xiaoling Yue fought against Qing'er and the ending was her defeat. This time around, her side had Xianyang, who was ranked even higher than Qing'er. As for her opponent, it was Qin Wentian, who had only broken through to the next level. Indeed, from the surface, the possibility of them winning was extremely high. Even though Qin Wentian had stepped into the 8th level of celestial phenomenon, he was still much weaker compared to them. The only advantage Qin Wentian had was the secret art of ancient Emperor Yi, the God's Hand. Xiaoling Yue nodded to Xianyang. After which, the gazes of the two of them turned over, staring at Qin Wentian and Qing'er. They stepped out, walking towards the battlefield, preparing to fight the battle that belonged to them. Qin Wentian saw this scene. He and Qing'er also walked forward. The four great geniuses stood in the air, exuding an unexcelled might. Any one of them was a supreme genius with outstanding talent. I will deal with Qing'er, you help me kill Qin Wentian. Don't show mercy, Xianyang transmitted his voice to Xiaoling Yue. Xianyang transmitted his voice to Xiaoling Yue. As the number 4 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, he was above Qing'er. Back then, Xiaoling Yue was defeated by Qing'er. Hence for this battle he chose to deal with Qing'er, while Xiaoling Yue faced Qin Wentian. Understood. Xiaoling Yue replied. From the positions of the four of them, the spectators already understood what Xianyang and Xiaoling Yue were thinking. Using the strong against the weak, Xianyang, who was ranked higher, would fight against Qing'er, while Xiaoling Yue should be able to defeat Qin Wentian. In that case, both of them would have an advantage, and the ending of the battle was obvious. The four of them respectively released their tyrannical auras, as well as their strongest constellations. Upon seeing Xianyang's constellation, that ancient mirror constellation made everyone feel that Xianyang was already in an undefeatable position. His heavenly mystic mirror art was able to reflect attacks. There was no way he could win. All the geniuses in the surroundings were seriously watching this battle, including Namhuang Yunxi. The three behind her were all present, and it was a chaotic battle. Such a battle wasn't something that could be seen frequently, and it was extremely rare to see. Princess Qing'er's constellation seems to be extremely powerful as well. That spatial constellation diagram seems to contain all sorts of spatial might within it. The powerful spatial might enveloped Princess Qing'er within, making her seem sacred and inviolable. God's hand has appeared. At this moment, the spectators once again saw God's hand. Qin Wentian's palms shimmered with a resplendent light, and very swiftly his palms started to transforming into an incomparably majestic God's hand, resembling the palm of a true divinity. Behind Qin Wentian, a pair of wind rock wings appeared. His gigantic body shimmered with fiend god light, and a terrifying bloodline power circulated within him. Rumble. Xiaoling Yue acted. Her palms blasted out, and an instant later, a surge of freezing energy gushed forth. A huge stretch of space in the sky was instantly frozen, as though she wanted to freeze both Qin Wentian and Qing'er. Qing'er blasted out a golden fist light, lacerating everything, directly shattering the freezing energy. A terrifying long spear appeared in Qin Wentian's God's hand. When this long spear pierced out, a formless energy akin to an unknown tempest manifested, directly destroying everything. Xianyang also acted. He brandished his long spear and directly pierced towards Qing'er with a speed as fast as lightning. The astral light from his constellation frenziedly gushed forth, forcing Qing'er to fight against him. Xiaoling Yue also acted against Qin Wentian. Stepping out, her frozen extermination calamity finger directly stabbed towards Qin Wentian. Instantly, Qin Wentian felt his entire body turning cold as a surge of freezing energy penetrated through him. Qing'er's slender jade-like fingers blasted towards Xianyang's long spear. Numerous golden swords slashed out, destroying everything in front of them. Qin Wentian's long spear continued piercing out, using the power of God's hand to unleash a terrifying might. The freezing energy in front of Xiaoling Yue rapidly shattered apart. Xiaoling Yue could clearly feel a supreme pressure gushing towards her. God's hand. Namhuang Yunxi's beautiful eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wentian's attack. The power of God's hand was simply too terrifying. In addition to Qin Wentian's own spear arts, his attack had truly reached the level of a peak stage 9th level ascendant. In the future, if he broke through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon and used God's hand to attack, his power would be even more terrifying. Xiaoling Yue's finger stabbed out. Instantly, a surge of freezing energy directly froze the long spear, wanting to freeze Qin Wentian's God's hand as well. A startling energy directly enveloped Qin Wentian's body. In just a short instant, half of Qin Wentian's body was enveloped by the freezing energy, about to be frozen to death. Xiaoling Yue has comprehended the law energy of freezing. Although it's only at the embryonic form, it's already sufficient to kill celestial phenomenon ascendants. Namhuang Yunxi silently mused when she saw this scene. If Qin Wentian's attacks only reached a certain level, he would be able to fight evenly against Xiaoling Yue. However, he had no way to defend against the corrosive power of Xiaoling Yue's law energy. Xiaoling Yue's beautiful eyes flickered with coldness. It was as though her gaze wanted to penetrate through Qin Wentian. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's entire body trembled as a supreme energy gushed forth from him. The layer of frost around him instantly shattered apart as God's hand continued its attack, bringing with it boundless killing intent, wanting to destroy Xiaoling Yue with a single strike. How can this be? He has comprehended it as well? Xiaoling Yue's beautiful eyes flashed with bewilderment and shock. She knew how difficult it was to comprehend such an energy. If one didn't reach the pinnacle of celestial phenomenon, it would be extremely hard to come into contact with such an energy. If one couldn't even sense it, how could one comprehend it? However, earlier, a powerful aura erupted forth from Qin Wentian. If it wasn't that energy, what could it be? Qin Wentian's cultivation base was only at the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. He shouldn't have come into contact with such an energy. That energy didn't belong to Qin Wentian. Let's try again. Xiaoling Yue's beautiful eyes flashed with coldness. Upon seeing the long spear shooting towards her, her body instantly froze, transforming into an ice sculpture. Traces of law energy circulated around the ice sculpture, extremely terrifying to the extreme. Pooh! The resplendent long spear stabbed out, directly penetrating through the ice sculpture. The expression in Xiaoling Yue's beautiful eyes changed. This attempt had already confirmed her conjecture. Qin Wentian had indeed comprehended that energy as well. Chapter 932. Xiaoling Yue was forced back. The wings on Qin Wentian's back flickered as he instantly closed in with a speed akin to golden lightning. Kill! Qin Wentian stabbed out with his spear, yet at this moment, a white light flashed as an ancient mirror manifested. Qin Wentian's spear directly slammed into it, shattering the ancient mirror. However, the rebound force from the impact caused Qin Wentian's palms to tremble slightly, dissipating the force of his spear. Xianyang, who was fighting at the side, was the one who had unleashed this attack. How could Xiaoling Yue miss this opportunity? At the instant Qin Wentian's spear force dissipated, she let out a shrill cry. Her long hair fluttered in the wind as frost covered her entire body. Xiaoling Yue punched out with both her fists, causing the ice statues in the air to explode. If ordinary geniuses were to receive such a terrifying attack, their bodies would surely disintegrate. In a battle between experts of their level, victory or defeat could be decided in a single thought. Qin Wentian's attack was blocked by Xianyang, allowing Xiaoling Yue to seize this opportunity to attack. Qin Wentian's body was instantly frozen, his internal organs were all frozen to death. When Xiaoling Yue's fist punched out, he could faintly sense that his body was about to shatter into countless particles. It was extremely terrifying. The runic light circulating around Qin Wentian's body intensified to the extreme as an inextinguishable might bore down on Xiaoling Yue. The constellation in the sky shone with a dazzling light as his god's hand moved again. When Xiaoling Yue was about to close in on him, he stabbed out with his spear. This spear strike was capable of suppressing all existences. Everywhere it passed by, the ice and frost were all shattered as the two forces clashed madly in the air. Go! The long spear in Qin Wentian's hand expanded explosively, wanting to destroy everything in its path. The long spear flew out of his hands. Xiaoling Yue screamed in a frenzy. This suppressive might had her as the center, causing the space around her to freeze. If there was someone beside her, they would instantly be frozen to death. But right at this moment, A person was enveloped by spatial energy and directly penetrated through, instantly descending from the heavens. His destructive fist light lacerated everything, causing the countenance of Xiaoling Yue, who was defending against Qin Wentian's attack, to drastically change. Bizizi. When Xianyang saw this, he immediately turned and chased after Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian similarly turning and blasting out a star-seizing palm imprint toward Xianyang. This palm imprint contained the power to annihilate everything, destroying everything in its path. Xianyang roared. Numerous incomparably mystical ancient mirrors appeared in the air, as his heavenly mystic mirror art was unleashed to the extreme. Qin Wentian's attack directly slammed into the heavenly mystic mirror art, but the terrifying rebound force caused Qin Wentian's palms to tremble. However, Xianyang's long spear exploded forth from behind the ancient mirror. Powerful. No wonder Xianyang can be ranked number 4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. His heavenly mystic mirror art is too difficult to break. Although Xianyang's attacks aren't that powerful, with the miraculous properties of the heavenly mystic mirror art, his opponent's attacks would be the same as him attacking himself. Unless his opponent's attacks were many times stronger than him, only then would they be able to shatter his heavenly mystic mirror art. Clearly, the current Qin Wentian has yet to reach this level. It would be extremely difficult to defeat Xianyang. However, this battle wasn't a one-on-one battle. It was a 2-on-2 battle. Qin Wentian understood that Xianyang's heavenly mystic mirror art was extremely powerful, and it would be extremely difficult for him to break through it. Qin Wentian's entire person was akin to a true wind rock as he retreated. The Void Atlas appeared, revolving frenziedly as Qing replaced Qin Wentian's position. Xianyang's long spear directly pierced into the Void Atlas, as though it was being sucked into it. The exchange between Qin Wentian and Qing was perfect. Qing blocked Xianyang's attack, while Qin Wentian was like a gust of wind as he blasted out a palm strike towards Xiaoling Yue. Xiaoling Yue initially wanted to circle around Qin Wentian to join up with Qing and Xianyang, but she was directly interrupted by the palm strike. It was as though she and Xianyang were completely separated by Qing and Qin Wentian. Princess Qing and Qin Wentian aren't at a disadvantage against Xianyang and Xiaoling Yue at all. If they were to win this battle, the Twin Stars Alliance would truly lose all face, the spectators mused. Right now, the Twin Stars Alliance had formed an alliance with the Xiao sect in the past. The Twin Stars Alliance was Xianyang and Xiaoling Yue. If they were to lose this battle, the Twin Stars Alliance, which was considered the #1 sect in the City of Ancient Emperors, would truly lose all face. The spectators could see that the attacks of the four were all extremely ferocious. Qin Wentian and Xiaoling Yue exchanged attacks, but Princess Qing was more focused on neutralizing Xianyang's attacks. Because Xianyang's heavenly mystic mirror art was extremely hard to break, she had no way to break through it in a short period of time. Hence, she chose to defend, alternating between Qin Wentian and suddenly appearing before Xiaoling Yue, catching her off guard. Princess Qing unleashed the advantage of her spatial energy to the extreme, while Qin Wentian's speed was also faster than Xiaoling Yue's. As the battle continued, Xiaoling Yue's situation grew increasingly unfavorable. Qin Wentian, you are truly despicable. As a man, you actually have to rely on a woman to aid you in battle. Xiaoling Yue coldly spoke. She had already unleashed all her techniques, yet she had no way to break through God's hand and defeat Qin Wentian. She was already feeling a trace of impatience, and was intentionally provoking Qin Wentian with her words, wanting to provoke Qin Wentian's temper. However, Xiaoling Yue only saw Qin Wentian smiling coldly at her. That smile seemed to be mocking her. At the same time Qin Wentian attacked, he spoke. Xiaoling Yue, how laughable. Despite being ranked number 6 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, your strength is only at this level. We can end this battle now. I'll show you the true might of God's hand. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, the spectators only saw his palm radiating boundless light, incomparably resplendent. Countless runic inscriptions flowed frenziedly, and it was unknown how terrifying that palm was. It was as though the power contained within was about to explode forth in an instant. Xiaoling Yue's eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wentian's palm. She could see the runic inscriptions flowing frenziedly, transforming into a terrifying vortex that frenziedly devoured the boundless energy. That palm merely hung there, yet a terrifying destructive tempest manifested. The might contained within caused Xiaoling Yue's heart to pound wildly. In the previous battle, your god's hand was shattered. Once you unleash it, you won't be able to use it a second time. You've overdrafted the energy of your god's hand. Xiaoling Yue stared at Qin Wentian. Your guess is correct. God's hand is able to maintain a powerful combat state for a long period of time. After the battle ends, I can retract it. Naturally, God's hand has another unique characteristic. It can truly unleash the might of a divinity. It's a true combat God's hand. Qin Wentian spoke. After which, his silhouette flickered as he lifted his palm and blasted it towards Xiaoling Yue. At this instant, an incomparably gigantic palm imprint descended from the heavens, bringing with it an unexcelled might that could suppress and destroy everything. This kind of pressure caused Xiaoling Yue to feel a sense of helplessness. She let out a heaven-shaking roar as boundless frost energy gushed forth from her body, transforming into numerous icy mountains that blasted towards the gigantic palm imprint. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as everything was about to be shattered. Not only that, it was so fast that it was like a beam of light, capable of destroying everything. Boom! A deafening sound rang out. The space where Xiaoling Yue was standing was filled with a terrifying impact. After which, the spectators only saw a gigantic crater appearing on the ground, as though a human silhouette had been smashed into it. The spectators were all dumbfounded as they stared at the crater. Even the battle between Qing, and Xianyang halted as they stared in that direction. The ground there was completely frozen, resembling a crater of ice and snow. An instant later, a coughing sound rang out as a figure crawled out from the crater with great difficulty. Fresh blood flowed unceasingly from his mouth. Xiaoling Yue inclined her head and stared at Qin Wentian, who was in the air. Her eyes were filled with a sense of despair. After losing to Qing, who was ranked one of the top rankers today, she was defeated by Qin Wentian in a domineering manner. Qin Wentian was someone she had once lured into the Xiao sect. Initially, she wanted to make use of him to find a way to enter the Emperor Palace, and she did find it. However, because of this, Qin Wentian managed to cultivate God's hand while she gained nothing. Half a year later, Qin Wentian defeated her. How ironic was this? Xiaoling Yue was defeated by Qin Wentian. The countenances of the crowd turned cold. Qin Wentian, who had obtained God's hand, was destined to rise domineeringly in the city of ancient emperors. The glow of God's hand in his palm dimmed. Although it was still there, it no longer had the dazzling luster from before. Xianyang's countenance was ice-cold. His silhouette flickered as he directly dashed towards Qin Wentian. Without God's hand, how could Qin Wentian defend against his attacks? Even if he was the only one left, this battle wasn't over yet. However, Qing Er's silhouette flickered as she appeared before Xianyang. Her spatial manipulation was extremely powerful, and could easily block Xianyang's path. Although she had no way to break Xianyang's heavenly mystic mirror art, Xianyang had no way to defeat her as well. As the spectators watched their battle, they felt that there wasn't much of a difference between the 4th and 5th rankers. Xianyang relied on the heavenly mystic mirror art, and was in an invincible position. But even his attacks had no way to deal with Qing Er. With regards to this point, Qin Wentian already knew it before the battle started. After all, he had fought against Xianyang before and knew of his strengths and weaknesses. He slowly walked forwards, only to see several experts from the Twin Stars Alliance heading their way. For a moment, their auras surged violently. Why? You can't afford to lose? Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the crowd as he coldly spoke. His words caused them to halt their steps as they stared at Qin Wentian with cold eyes. There were even quite a few who flew down to take care of Xiaoling Yue. What happened? At this moment, a voice drifted down from the heavens. After which, a silhouette soared through the air. This person exuded an indescribable aura. And although his aura wasn't tyrannical or sharp, just by standing in the air, it was as though he was a supreme character that had descended from the heavens. His voice was as light as the wind, yet it contained an unparalleled might. Chapter 933. Everyone inclined their heads, staring at the young man in the air as their expressions froze. It's him, he actually came. In an instant, everyone inclined their heads and stared at the young man descending from the sky. This caused a strange expression to appear on Qin Wentian's face. Most probably, this young man was an Empyrean. Even Namhuang Yunxi hadn't received such treatment before. Qin Wentian could easily guess that there were only two geniuses in the city of ancient emperors who could attract more attention compared to the beauties Namhuang Yunxi and Qing. After all, Namhuang Yunxi's ranking was already terrifyingly high. And in terms of demeanor, although this young man appeared carefree, one could faintly sense the disdain he exuded. It was obvious who this young man was. A descendant of Zidi Zidaoyang. Qin Wentian silently mused. Zidaoyang was ranked number 1 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, the number 1 genius in the entire city of ancient emperors. In that case, even in the entire immortal realms, he could be considered one of the top few at the peak of celestial phenomenon. Lingyue, are you alright? Zidaoyang glanced at the injured Xiao Lingyue on the ground before turning his gaze back to Qin Wentian. Daoyang Gij. Although Xiao Lingyue was injured, she still called out in a gentle voice. That melodious voice of hers was able to cause the hearts of those who heard it to tremble. This caused countless people to be speechless in their hearts. This was the disparity between them. Although they were both geniuses, the disparity between them was still too great. Xiao Lingyue had countless pursuers, but none of them had shown any interest in her. And now that Zidaoyang appeared, Xiao Lingyue actually addressed him so intimately, calling him Daoyang Gij in a gentle voice. Those pursuers couldn't help but feel disheartened. Such treatment caused their hearts to turn cold. But when they inclined their heads and stared at Zidaoyang, they could only sigh in their hearts. No wonder Xiao Lingyue was like this. This man was Zidaoyang. Even if she was a supreme beauty, if her status wasn't high enough, she wouldn't even be qualified to be his friend. Are you alright? Zidaoyang asked. Xiao Lingyue shook her head lightly. Wasn't Daoyang Gij in closed-door seclusion? How come you have the time to come out now? I heard news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor in the Underworld Mountains, so I came out to take a look. Zidaoyang spoke. After that, he turned his gaze onto Nanfeng Yunxi as he smiled. Princess Yunxi, a descendant of the Southern Phoenix clan, a descendant of the Southern Phoenix matriarch. You truly live up to your reputation. Do you also believe in the rumors of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Nanfeng Yunxi asked Zidaoyang. I do, because I know of someone who has already entered the Underworld Mountains, and has already been there for a very long period of time. I believe that he wouldn't die there. Zidaoyang smiled and nodded, his words causing a strange expression to appear on Nanfeng Yunxi's face. Are you referring to him? Hearing their conversation, the hearts of the crowd trembled, instantly guessing who they were referring to. Zidaoyang was the number 1 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings, and Namhuang Yunxi was the number 3 ranker. The person they were referring to could only be that extremely ruthless character. Who would have thought that the reason he disappeared for so long was because he had gone to the Underworld Mountains? How ruthless! Other than him, who else could it be? He spared no expense to defeat me, seizing my number 1 ranking, and even entered the Underworld Mountains to search for good fortune. He's truly ruthless to himself. Now, there's news that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance might be in the Underworld Mountains. If he really obtained it. Zidaoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness. In the city of ancient emperors, the only person he felt a trace of trepidation towards was that person. Other than him, who else could it be? He spared no expense, wanting to defeat me and seize the top rank on the Immortal Ascension rankings. He even entered the Underworld Mountains to search for good fortune. He's truly ruthless to himself. Now, there's news that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance might be within the Underworld Mountains. If he really obtained it. Zidaoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness. In the city of ancient emperors, the only person who could cause him to feel a trace of trepidation was none other than that person. Other than him, who else could it be? He spared no expense to defeat me, seizing my number 1 ranking, and even entered the Underworld Mountains to search for good fortune. He's truly ruthless to himself. Now there's news that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance might be in the underworld mountains. If he really obtained it. Zi Daoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness. In the city of ancient emperors, the only person he felt a trace of trepidation towards was that person. As he thought of this, Qin Wentian couldn't help but feel worried. Little rascal could sense the summoning energy. It should be because he had his own good fortune that Qin Wentian allowed him to stay in the underworld mountains. However, Qin Wentian was still worried about little rascal's safety. At this moment, Zi Daoyang's eyes turned to Qing, who was standing behind Qin Wentian. He smiled and called out, "Little sister Qing." As the sound of his voice faded, expressions of interest appeared on the faces of many. Xiao Lingyue referred to him as Daoyang Gij, but Zi Daoyang simply referred to her as Lingyue. He referred to Namhuang Yunqi as Princess Yunqi, and to Princess Qing, he referred to her as Little Sister Qing. These three different forms of address. He referred to Lingyue as someone he was familiar with, to Namhuang Yunqi was courteous, and to Princess Qing, he referred to her as Little Sister Qing. The moment he arrived, he immediately interacted with the three supreme beauties of the city of ancient emperors. Such confidence wasn't something others could possess. After all, these three supreme beauties were all ranked within the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings. However, the spectators only saw an expression of unhappiness on Princess Qing's face as she coldly glanced at Zi Daoyang. Uncle Evergreen often visits my clan as a guest, and is as close as a brother to my father. He treats my father like an elder brother, and I've long heard of you from him, but I've never had the chance to meet you in person. Today in the city of ancient emperors, I was able to recognize you with a single glance. My age is slightly older than you, and in addition to the fact that we're of the same generation, it's not too much for me to refer to you as little sister. Sister Qing, please don't take offense. This is also a request my uncle made to me back then. Zi Daoyang smiled. If it was someone else who referred to Princess Qing, in this manner, the crowd might feel that they were intentionally trying to get close to her, or perhaps taking advantage of her. However, when Zi Daoyang spoke in this manner, the crowd felt that it was extremely normal. As for how complicated the relationships between immortal emperors were, these juniors weren't very clear. However, Zidi was one of the strongest immortal emperors in the immortal realms, and he even had several immortal emperors following him. It wasn't strange for the Chongqing the Great to refer to him as elder brother. Just call me by my name. Qin Wentian spoke in a cold voice. Qing icily replied. Zi Daoyang glanced at her before he smiled and nodded. That's fine as well. In the future, if you're out of the city of ancient emperors, Qing if you're free, come over to my place for a visit. Qing didn't reply. Zi Daoyang then turned his gaze to Qin Wentian and Xianyang. He first spoke to Xianyang. We're all acquaintances, there's no need to fight like this. Xianyang, give me some face and bring Lengyu and the people of your Twin Stars Alliance away. Xianyang's countenance froze, and his expression turned extremely unsightly. Zi Daoyang seemed to be intentionally revealing that his relationship with Qing wasn't shallow. If that was the case, wouldn't he, Xianyang, give up on avenging Xianxing? What's wrong? Zi Daoyang couldn't help but furrow his brows when he saw Xianyang's heavy expression. Since you've spoken, I can give up on this battle. However, Qin Wentian injured an old general of the Xiao sect, as well as Lengyu. Are we just going to let this matter rest? Xianyang inclined his head and stared at Zi Daoyang. Although Xianyang was ranked number 4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings in the City of Ancient Emperors, and there weren't many who could suppress him, he still had to give face to Zi Daoyang. Regardless of strength or background, there was a great disparity between him and Zi Daoyang. Although there were many descendants of immortal emperors in the City of Ancient Emperors, there were still differences in strength between immortal emperors and immortal emperors. Zi Daoyang's father, Zidi, was a supremely powerful immortal emperor, and even had immortal emperors under him. Compared to Xianyang's father, the Xian emperor, Zi Daoyang was much stronger. Similarly, this was also the reason why the Xiao emperor didn't dare to humiliate Qing. Back then when his immortal sense appeared, Qing had the Chongqing the Great and GD behind her, and both of them were stronger than the Xiao emperor. In a battle between juniors, Regardless of who won or lost, the elders shouldn't interfere. If he, the Shao Emperor, interfered and humiliated Qing, once the evergreen immortal emperor and GD learned of this, they would surely view him as an eyesore. When Zi Daoyang heard Xianyang's words, he turned his gaze onto Qin Wentian as he spoke. Xianyang's words aren't without reason. You heavily injured Lingyue. I'll ask Xianyang to stop the battle. And you apologize to Lingyue. How about it? Qin Wentian stared at the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang. At this moment he still didn't understand why Zi Daoyang would appear here. He was like a peacemaker, wanting everyone to give him face. Was it because he wanted to show off? Given Zi Daoyang's status, there was no need for him to do this. Qin Wentian's countenance was cold. He didn't like Zi Daoyang at all. That time when Zi Daoyang referred to Qing, as his younger sister, although Zi Daoyang had said it openly, it still made Qin Wentian unhappy. In addition, what qualifications did he have to ask Xianyang to stop the battle and apologize? Xianyang and him, Qin Wentian, were enemies. Qin Wentian defeated Xiao Lingyue because Zi Daoyang came to cause trouble. Bluntly speaking, Zi Daoyang was merely using his strength to suppress Qin Wentian. If it was someone else, would Xianyang compromise? Why should I apologize? Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at Zi Daoyang. The eyes of everyone narrowed. The person before Qin Wentian was none other than Zi Daoyang, the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Even Xianyang had to compromise before Zi Daoyang. Why was Qin Wentian asking why? Everyone understood that Zi Daoyang was relying on his tyrannical strength. You're asking me why? Zi Daoyang laughed. Although you obtained the ultimate art of an ancient emperor, the god's hand, and relied on it to defeat Lingyue, even if you're at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, you're still not strong enough to stand before me. Qin Wentian laughed. Didn't I say that in a battle in the city of ancient emperors, there's no need for the victor to apologize? If you want to use your strength to suppress me, just say it directly. Why do you have to beat around the bush? Bluntly speaking, everyone here had to look up to Zi Daoyang. The reason why he interacted with the three supreme beauties the moment he arrived was undoubtedly because of his strength and status. I've already broken through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, so there's no meaning to it. But if you want me to lower my face and apologize just because of a single sentence from you, aren't you overestimating yourself a little too much? Qin Wentian faintly spoke. Zi Daoyang wasn't angered when he heard Qin Wentian's words. He calmly stared at him, but his eyes gradually turned sharp. At this moment, Qing walked to the side of Qin Wentian and stared at Zi Daoyang together with him. Qing, is he your good friend? Zi Daoyang stared at Qing as he asked. Qing's countenance was cold. She stared at Zi Daoyang and didn't reply. Zi Daoyang didn't seem to mind as he smiled. Since this is the case, I won't make things difficult for him. After speaking, his countenance softened as he turned to Xianyang. Xianyang, this matter ends here. Uncle Evergreen once instructed me to take care of Qing. You've also heard my words earlier. In the future, you're not to cause trouble here again. Chapter 934. Xianyang's countenance grew increasingly unsightly as he stared at Zi Daoyang in the air. Zi Daoyang's tone was relaxed, as though he was speaking of an insignificant matter. But could it be that he didn't know what this meant to him? Xianyang? Xianxing was killed by Qin Wentian in public, and the Twin Stars Alliance was humiliated. This was a grudge of life and death. Yet Zi Daoyang was telling him not to cause trouble in the future with a single sentence? Zi Daoyang didn't care about Xianyang's feelings at all. His casual words contained absolute arrogance. Even though he was ranked number 4 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang didn't place him in his eyes at all. Hatred. In Xianyang's heart, hatred for Zi Daoyang had already blossomed. If there was a chance, he would definitely wash away this humiliation. Zi Daoyang naturally understood that his actions would cause Xianyang to hate him. But he didn't care. He didn't even consider it. He, Zi Daoyang, was a descendant of Zidi. Zidi had once said that the Xian Emperor's people could rely on the heavenly mystic mirror art to increase their defense, but it would be hard for them to achieve great things. They would never be able to be compared to those famous great emperors. As the son of the Xian Emperor, Xianyang could rely on his heavenly mystic mirror art to be undefeatable against those with stronger attacks than him. But Zi Daoyang didn't care about him at all. Naturally, only an existence like Zidi would dare to say such things about the Xian Emperor. Only a genius like Zi Daoyang wouldn't care about Xianyang. If it was someone ranked at the bottom of the Immortal Ascension rankings, they could only look up to Xianyang's heavenly mystic mirror art. Their perspectives were different, and the scenery they saw was naturally different as well. The spectators could feel the humiliation in Xianyang's heart when they saw his silence. Xianyang smiled and spoke, "Fine. Since Zi Daoyang has said this, I, Xianyang, naturally won't cause trouble. I've long heard that Senior Zidi has a good relationship with the evergreen immortal emperor, but I didn't expect them to be like brothers. I believe that in the future, Brother Zi and Princess Qing will also have a chance to become a peerless couple." After speaking, Xianyang stepped out, moving in the direction of the Twin Stars Alliance. Upon hearing Xianyang's last sentence, strange looks appeared in the eyes of the spectators. It seemed that Xianyang was intentionally saying this to sow discord between Qin Wentian and Zi Daoyang. And as expected, although Zi Daoyang's countenance didn't change, a cold light flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes. There was no need for Qin Wentian to think too much. Right now, everyone could tell that Zi Daoyang's appearance was to pull the relationship between him and Princess Qing closer. Although the spectators didn't know what his purpose was, the words spoken by Xianyang, in addition to the fact that Zi Daoyang wanted Qin Wentian to apologize, were sufficient to cause Qin Wentian to view Zi Daoyang with hatred. The relationship between the two of them would definitely be extremely bad, and there might even be a possibility of conflict in the future. At that time, there was no need for him, Xianyang, to act. Qin Wentian would definitely be in a miserable state when facing Zi Daoyang. "You still have the face to cause trouble here?" Qin Wentian mocked. Momentarily, the countenance of Xianyang, who had his back facing Qin Wentian, grew even colder. Although the battle today wasn't interrupted by Zi Daoyang, everyone could tell that he, Xianyang, and Xiaolingyue had both been defeated. There was no way to determine a victor between him and Qing while Qin Wentian had already injured Xiaolingyue. The two alliance leaders of the Twin Stars Alliance had lost to the newly established Qin sect. Daoyang Gij. Xiaolingyue inclined her head, staring at Zi Daoyang in the air. "Lingyue, you and I can be considered acquaintances. Qing is the daughter of my uncle, Chongqing the Great. Take this defeat as a lesson. Let's end this grudge here." Zi Daoyang spoke to Xiaolingyue. Although Xiaolingyue was very disappointed, since Zi Daoyang had already said so, what else could she do? She could only nod her head. This matter ends here. The geniuses of the immortal realms all came to the city of ancient emperors to raise their strength. The inheritances left behind by the ancestors are naturally our main targets. Now that there's news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance in the Underworld Mountains, let's all prepare to head there, Zi Daoyang calmly spoke. First, there was the appearance of the God's hand, and now there's news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. This is a sign of great luck, and I'm afraid there will be even more powerful storms in the future. The expressions of everyone stiffened when they heard Zi Daoyang's words. His words weren't wrong. Occasionally, there would be the appearance of the inheritances of the ancestors in the city of ancient emperors, and the geniuses would all head there to temper themselves. However, it was extremely rare for things to be like today, with news of two ancient emperors appearing one after the other, as well as the appearance of an ultimate art. If this wasn't a sign of great luck, what could it be? This indicated that the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors all had their own luck. Maybe there would really be an extremely rare opportunity that would appear one after another. Qing, this matter has ended. I'll take my leave first. If there's anything you need in the future, feel free to look for me, Zi Daoyang spoke to Qing. Zi Daoyang spoke to Qing. After that, his silhouette flickered as he directly departed the area, exuding an air of elegance. Qing countenance was cold. Upon seeing Qin Wentian turning his gaze to her, Qing beautiful eyes flickered with a luster as she replied in a melodious voice, "I don't know him." "Silly lass." Qin Wentian laughed. After that, he held Qing hand, as though he was declaring his sovereignty. This scene undoubtedly confirmed the relationship between him and the daughter of the Chongqing the Great, Princess Qing. However, the spectators still didn't know what Zi Daoyang's intentions were. If Zi Daoyang truly wanted to pursue Princess Qing, Qin Wentian would undoubtedly have an extremely terrifying love rival. In all aspects, Zi Daoyang was superior to Qin Wentian. Even if the Chongqing the Great was the one to choose, he would definitely choose the son of Zi Daoyang. Xianyang and Xiaolingyue stood together, with the members of the Twin Stars Alliance. Xianyang coldly stated, "Qin Wentian, just hide behind a woman forever." After speaking, he flicked his sleeves, and with an expression of reluctance, he led the members of the Twin Stars Alliance away in an imposing manner. The general of a defeated army is still so arrogant? How laughable! Qin Wentian emotionlessly spoke, his words causing Xianyang's aura to fluctuate violently. He felt extremely unhappy in his heart. This Zi Daoyang is truly arrogant. Who does he think he is? Just the sight of him pisses me off. Jun Mingchen walked over and cursed in a low voice. It seemed that he, too, was extremely unhappy after seeing Zi Daoyang's attitude earlier. He hated himself for being too weak in the city of ancient emperors. If not, he would definitely have ruthlessly fought a great battle against that arrogant fellow. The number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, the son of Zidi. How can such a character not be arrogant? It's just that he's too arrogant, Zi Qingxian added. Zi Qingxian also spoke. From Zi Daoyang's words and actions, it was as though as long as he was here, everyone would have to listen to his commands. He wanted Xianyang to stop, wanted Qin Wentian to apologize, and only didn't persist because of Qing. It was as though they still owed Zi Daoyang a favor. Sis Qingxian, she has the same surname as you. Could it be that you guys are from the same clan? Jun Mingchen joked, his words causing Zi Qingxian to glare at him. Although Zi Daoyang is arrogant, it's rumored that he's extremely powerful. Xianyang might be ranked number 4 in the Immortal Ascension rankings, and is only 3 ranks away from Zi Daoyang, but in terms of combat prowess, the disparity is too great. Xianyang doesn't even have the courage to refute Zi Daoyang. Hua Taishu calmly stated. Confidence stemmed from strength. Those who dared to be arrogant definitely had the qualifications to be arrogant. Zi Daoyang was precisely such a person. You're right. If they really fought, I'm afraid Xianyang wouldn't even be able to withstand a single attack from Zi Daoyang. Their strength isn't even on the same level. This means that if Zi Daoyang acted against you guys, the 5 of you would be easily destroyed by him. A voice rang out, filled with impoliteness. When Qin Wentian glanced at the person who spoke, he didn't doubt the other party's words. Because the person who spoke was none other than the number 3 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Namhuang Yunxi. Given her ranking, she would definitely have some understanding of Zi Daoyang's strength, and was qualified to make such an evaluation. So what? When senior brother Qin breaks through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, he would still be able to defeat Zi Daoyang with his god's hand. Jun Mingchen was unconvinced. How can it be so easy? Namhuang Yunxi continued. When Zi Daoyang said that Qin Wentian wouldn't be his opponent even if he broke through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, he wasn't exaggerating. Although the god's hand is powerful, it isn't invincible. It still has to depend on how much energy you've comprehended. Also, the god's hand isn't the only thing that appeared in the ruins of the city of ancient emperors. You're saying that Zi Daoyang has also obtained an inheritance left behind by an ancient emperor? Qin Wentian asked. Zi Daoyang's strength is already extremely terrifying. Zidi is one of the peak-stage immortal emperors in the immortal realms, and the energy he cultivates is extremely powerful. Don't think that just because you guys have the god's hand, you'll be able to dominate those at the same level. Namhuang Yunxi continued. In addition, Zi Daoyang said that that person has already entered the underworld mountains for a very long time, and there's a high possibility that he might have obtained some treasures. If he really didn't die in the underworld mountains, his current strength wouldn't be any weaker than Zi Daoyang's. Qin Wentian didn't dare to underestimate the geniuses of the immortal realms. The immortal realms were simply too vast, and the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors were only a portion of the total number of geniuses in the immortal realms. There were also many geniuses who had come here before, as well as those who were at the Immortal Foundation realm and above. You came here? Zi Qingxian stared at Namhuang Yunxi as she asked. I'll enter the Underworld Mountains. However, the Underworld Mountains are known as a forbidden ground in the city of ancient emperors. If you guys want to enter as well, I wish to travel together with you. Why don't I join your Qin sect? How about it? Namhuang Yunxi spoke, her words causing the gazes of the crowd to tremble. Namhuang Yunxi. She wanted to join the Qin sect? Evidently, the battle between Qing, and Qin Wentian had already gained Namhuang Yunxi's approval. Facing the unknown dangers of the Underworld Mountains, the Qin sect was undoubtedly an extremely good ally. Although they didn't have many members, they had 2 peak-level elites. There was no other power more suitable than the Qin sect. Welcome. Qin Wentian nodded his head in agreement. If Namhuang Yunxi joined, the Qin sect would instantly rise to another level, becoming a truly influential power in the city of ancient emperors. Even if there were only 6 members, it was already sufficient. He had no reason to reject this. The crowd glanced over. 2 supreme beauties, the number 3 ranker Namhuang Yunxi, and the number 5 ranker Princess Qing, as well as Qin Wentian who could defeat Xiaoling Yue. This lineup was truly powerful. I want to join the Qin sect as well. At this moment, someone called out. Me too, I want to join the Qin sect. More and more geniuses stepped out. Now that the Qin sect had 2 supreme beauties, in addition to the battle earlier, it wouldn't be long before the Qin sect surpassed the Twin Stars Alliance. Chapter 935. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over these geniuses as he laughed. Although the Qin sect has just been established, we won't randomly recruit new members. Those who join the Qin sect are all my brothers, and once you join, you are not allowed to leave. Also, you have to listen to my commands absolutely, and those who disobey will not be forgiven lightly. Are there any more people who wish to join the Qin sect? Just when Jun Mingchen wanted to speak, he saw Qin Wentian saying what he wanted to say. He couldn't help but laugh. What a joke. When the Qin sect was in danger, no one cared about them. But now that they had repelled their enemies and Princess Qing, and Qin Wentian had defeated the alliance of Xianyang and Xiaoling Yue, in addition to Namhuang Yunxi joining them, these people still wanted to flock over to them? What was the point of recruiting so many people who weren't of the same mind, each with their own ulterior motives? The countenances of the crowd froze, and someone asked, Brother Qin, why didn't I hear any of your requests for Namhuang Yunxi to join us? Qin Wentian laughed carefreely. If you guys have her ranking, I have no objections either. In fact, I don't have any requests for her to be in the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Staring at the carefree smile on Qin Wentian's face, the geniuses shook their heads helplessly. They could understand what Qin Wentian was thinking. 4 ordinary geniuses who joined the Qin sect, if they encountered danger, Qin Wentian, Namhuang Yunxi, and the others would be there to protect them. But if they encountered benefits, they would want to take a slice of the soup as well. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Forget it, forget it. Right now, the city of ancient emperors is no longer peaceful. Zi Daoyang has also said that a storm is brewing in the Underworld Mountains, and the ancient ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor have been discovered. Everyone, do you want to form an alliance and prepare to explore the Underworld Mountains together? That's right, the Underworld Mountains are known as a land of death. Many people have entered there and were unable to exit, but no army has ever been sent there before. Now that there's news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, the commotion would surely sweep across the entire city of ancient emperors. I don't believe that the Underworld Mountains would be able to trap an army of geniuses. More and more people spoke up one after another. They seemed to be filled with fighting spirit. Qin Wentian didn't say anything. Although he had entered the Underworld Mountains before, he had only stayed there for a short period of time. He knew very little about the Underworld Mountains, and he hadn't even observed them carefully. If he were to take the liberty of advising others not to head there, others might even mock him for wanting to secretly lead the Qin sect there to seize the fateful encounter. The Qin sect has just been established. We won't be accepting new members for now. Everyone, Please feel free to leave. Qin Wentian waved his hands, signaling for the guests to leave. Namhuang Yunxi, the Qin sect only has the 6 of us now. You can choose any place you like. Qin Wentian smiled at Namhuang Yunxi as he watched the crowd leave. MHM. Namhuang Yunxi nodded her head as she asked, when do we set off? Since you've already joined the Qin sect, I naturally won't hide anything from you. Actually, I just exited the Underworld Mountains not long ago. The Underworld Mountains formed a separate dimension, akin to an illusory realm, hidden within the mountain range. When the true Underworld Mountains appeared, the terrain of the mountain range changed, resembling a land of the underworld. There's a mysterious energy that can slowly absorb the energy of stellar martial cultivators, making it extremely difficult to stay in the Underworld Mountains for long periods of time. Qin Wentian spoke to Namhuang Yunxi. A strange light flashed in Namhuang Yunxi's eyes as she asked, how did you guys exit the Underworld Mountains? Qing'er has a spatial treasure, Qin Wentian replied. Seems like my decision to join the Qin sect was the correct one. Since that's the case, there's nothing to worry about. Bring more Yuan meteor stones with you, and use them to absorb astral energy at any time. In the earlier battle, you guys looted the interspatial rings of the old generals of the Shao sect, and your harvest was extremely bountiful. You definitely won't lack Yuan meteor stones. Namhuang Yunxi smiled. Since this is the case, let's rest for today and set off tomorrow. Since the news has already spread, I'm afraid the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors will all flock there. Qin Wentian was decisive. Since Qing'er could exit the Underworld Mountains, there was no need for him to worry too much about her safety. It was just that little rascal was still in the Underworld Mountains, and he couldn't be at ease. That person was also in the Underworld Mountains. If he encountered little rascal, Qin Wentian's combat prowess wouldn't be able to be compared to that person. That person was the number 2 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings. Right. Namhuang Yunxi nodded. After which, everyone descended to the ground, returning to the cultivation grounds of their respective courtyards to cultivate. Qin Wentian viewed time with extreme importance. The energy from God's hand had already dissipated after he defeated Shaolin Yue. He had to rebuild his divine energy once again. In the old location of the Shao sect, the Qin sect was extremely quiet. This was especially so when night fell. Only the sound of the waterfall could be heard. In one of the courtyards, Namhuang Yunxi stood with her hands clasped behind her back, staring at the sky. As a princess of the Namhuang clan, there was an immense pressure on her shoulders. She couldn't forget the instructions given to her by the Southern Phoenix matriarch. The 33 immortal realms had been peaceful for too long, and no one knew when a heaven-shaking war would erupt. She had to increase her strength as fast as possible, allowing herself to mature. As a descendant of the Southern Phoenix matriarch, she had to establish her immortal foundation before the age of 100, and immortal king before the age of 10,000. The Southern Phoenix matriarch had once said that chaos would be a great era. The appearance of chaos meant that there would be many world-shaking characters appearing, stirring up the winds and waves, stirring up the winds and clouds of the world. At such a time, geniuses would always appear, and countless geniuses would contend against each other. Chaos would also be a great era. Namhuang Yunxi was thinking that if chaos descended in this era, would she be able to carve out a place of her own in this era? Zi Daoyang, Qin Wentian, and that person. In addition to those who weren't in the city of ancient emperors, would these people be inferior to her, Namhuang Yunxi? Who? At this moment, Namhuang Yunxi abruptly turned and stared behind her. However, she only saw the green mountains. There was no other silhouette, nor any aura. This scene caused Namhuang Yunxi to furrow her brows as a strange light flashed in her eyes. Her perception was extremely sharp, and there shouldn't be any mistakes. However, there really wasn't any aura. Could it be that she had something weighing on her mind, causing her perception to be wrong? At the same time, in Qin Wentian's courtyard, in the cultivation ground, Qin Wentian was quietly cultivating. Qing'er sat on a boulder at the foot of a green waterfall, facing Qin Wentian. Her crystal-clear eyes stared at Qin Wentian, but there seemed to be something weighing on her mind. She was contemplating something. Although Qing'er wasn't very experienced in the world. It was precisely because of this that her thoughts were simpler. However, she was also very sensitive and could sense things that others couldn't. She could faintly sense that Zi Daoyang's appearance today was truly because of her. However, she was a total stranger to Zi Daoyang. What was Zi Daoyang's purpose? For someone like Zi Daoyang, he wouldn't lack beauties. Even for Xiaoling Yue, if he used some methods, he would be able to obtain her easily. Hence, if he wanted to get close to someone, it wouldn't be purely because of their beauty. Qing suddenly thought of her father, the evergreen immortal emperor. When she stared at Qin Wentian, traces of worry could be seen on her beautiful face. However, when she saw that Qin Wentian didn't know anything, and was completely immersed in his cultivation, Qing's countenance gradually softened, no longer cold. Her watery eyes flickered with a hint of warmth. The night was no longer cold. In the morning, the air in the mountain range still seemed to be slightly foggy. In the rolling mountain range, it should have been extremely quiet. However, there were suddenly many figures today. They were in groups of 3 to 5, walking between the mountain range and heading towards the depths of the mountain range. These people were none other than the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors who had received the news, and they were all heading towards the underworld mountains. Although the underworld mountains had the reputation of being a forbidden ground in the city of ancient emperors, when there were too many people, one's guts would naturally be bolder. This was especially so for geniuses. None of them would admit that they were cowardly. Hence, since yesterday, more and more people were rushing over here. In the ruins of ancient Emperor Yi, there was indeed an ultimate art, the god's hand. Not only that, it had already been cultivated by Qin Wentian. In that case, if the ruins of the extremely famous Brahma Heavenly Emperor were to be discovered, would the great Brahma art, which had also been lost, reappear in the immortal realms? If the great Brahma art appeared and was cultivated by them, even if they couldn't reach the level of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, they would still be able to become hegemons of an area. No one would feel that they were too weak to cultivate it. This was especially so for the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wentian and his group also entered the mountain range. Qin Wentian, Namhuang Yunxi, Jun Mingchen, Zi Qingxian, and Hua Taishu. The 6 of them from the Qin sect had arrived together. Everywhere they passed, the number of people turning their heads to look at them was the highest. Among the 6 of them, there were 3 stunning beauties. Zi Qingxian was already extremely beautiful, but Qing and Namhuang Yunxi were a level higher. With such a lineup, how could they not attract the attention of others? Those who had heard of the battle yesterday could already guess their identities. But there were also many who hadn't received the news yet. Hence, they were all wondering who these 2 supreme beauties, Namfeng Yunxi and Qing were exactly. The speed of the 6 of them was extremely fast. Qin Wentian was already familiar with the path, and very soon, they arrived at the outer perimeter of the underworld mountains. Many geniuses from the city of ancient emperors had gathered here, and they had all formed alliances. It was very rare to see a single person here. There was a high possibility of a battle breaking out, and at that time, it would be a battle of strength. Namhuang Yunxi. At this moment it was unknown who spoke. Momentarily, the gazes of the crowd all turned to Qin Wentian and his group. Princess Qing as well. The number 3 and number 5 rankers on the Immortal Ascension rankings have also arrived, another person added. These 6 people immediately became the focus of the crowd. Interesting, the people from the Twin Stars Alliance have arrived as well. The crowd turned their gazes in another direction, only to see the silhouettes of Xianyang and Xiaoling Yue. Xiaoling Yue's injuries seemed to have healed in a single day. It was unknown what heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures she had consumed. However, Greedwolf wasn't here. Without a year and a half, it would be hard for him to crawl back up again. Namhuang Yunxi and Princess Qing have formed an alliance, while the Twin Stars Alliance has Xianyang and Xiaoling Yue. Hey, it seems like we have to gather the others to form an alliance. One of the geniuses spoke to another. The strength of these 2 alliances was simply too shocking. Let's enter. Namhuang Yunxi spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian nodded, and after which, they entered the depths of the underworld mountains. The others hesitated for a moment before following after. Nam Huang Yunxi and Princess Qing had already entered the underworld mountains. How could they be afraid of the slightest thing? Very swiftly, the army of geniuses from the city of ancient emperors entered the depths of the underworld mountains. When the fog appeared, the entire space was filled with a mysterious aura, after which, the true underworld mountains appeared before their eyes, exuding a cold intent. Chapter 936. Underworld Mountain. The geniuses instantly discovered that this was the true underworld mountain. In a short period of time, they could also feel the energy in their bodies slowly dissipating. Hua Taishu's samsara eyes appeared. He stared at this illusory space, wanting to see through it with his own eyes. However, even with his samsara eyes, he could only see a ball of fog. How could he be able to see through the secrets of the underworld mountain? Nam Huang Yunxi, you're here. At this moment, a silhouette flickered, appearing before Nam Huang Yunxi. The eyes of this young man gleamed with a demonic light. His forehead and nose bridge were extremely tall, different from ordinary humans. However, his eyes were extremely sharp, and when he swept his gaze over the crowd, traces of baleful qi could be seen. Demonic qi, this person is a demon. Qin Wentian could sense that this person was a demon. Ordinary humans wouldn't dare to get so close to Nam Huang Yunxi. Qin Wentian searched through his memories and instantly thought of a person on the Immortal Ascension rankings. Zhan Peng, ranked number 7 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. His true form was a demonic bird. What's the matter? Nam Huang Yunxi glanced at Zhan Peng as she asked, "Why are you hanging out with these mortals? Follow me and roam the underworld mountain together." Zhan Peng spoke to Nam Huang Yunxi. "You and I are the most suitable pair to be together." The surrounding people all had expressions of interest on their faces. This was especially so for Zhan Peng. He actually said that Qing and Qin Wentian were mortals. Could it be that he didn't know that Princess Qing was ranked above him? And Qin Wentian had also defeated Xiaoling Yue, who was ranked above him? However, this Zhan Peng had always been stubborn and arrogant, doing whatever he wanted. Zhan Peng was a bird, an extremely common bird species. He had the noble bloodline of Nam Huang Yunxi, but his heart was higher than the heavens. He wholeheartedly wished to cut down the monarch of the skies, the rock god bird, and replace him. He had always believed that only Nam Huang Yunxi's ancient phoenix bloodline was worthy of him, and that she should be with him. There was once someone who joked that Zhan Peng was a chicken begging for a phoenix, that he really didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. However, the person who said this was cruelly slaughtered by Zhan Peng. Everyone only dared to mock him in their hearts, but no one dared to underestimate Zhan Peng's strength. Scram. Nam Huang Yunxi said coldly, looking at Zhan Peng with disdain. This Zhan Peng was just a bird-type demonic beast, yet he always thought that he was incomparably noble, causing others to feel disgusted. Zhan Peng, how could the princess of the Nam Huang clan like you? You'd better come over and form an alliance with me. Otherwise, you won't even know what's going on when you suffer a loss. Not far away, a person called out. The person who spoke was emaciated and gave off a sinister feeling. Some geniuses instantly recognized this person. It was none other than the number 8 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Bone Devil. Beside Bone Devil stood an ordinary-looking woman. Yet her demeanor was extraordinary. Her eyes were sharp as she stared at Nam Huang Yunxi and Qing. Not only were these two supreme beauties, their rankings were also near the top. This Zhan Peng truly didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Most probably he still didn't know that this group of people wasn't someone he could afford to antagonize. Seems like Bone Devil has formed an alliance with Su Ruxue, and there's also Kuan Nu. What a powerful lineup. The crowd was speechless when they saw the three of them. Behind Su Ruxue stood a bald monk. It was none other than Kuan Nu. These three were ranked number 8, number 9 and number 10 respectively. Since all of them had arrived, it seemed like the news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's ruins had drawn everyone here. Elites formed alliances with other elites, while the other geniuses formed alliances with each other. Shut up. Zhan Peng coldly glanced at Bone Devil. He then turned to Nam Huang Yunxi and spoke. I was born extraordinary. I'm destined to become the sovereign of the skies in the immortal realms. Nam Huang Yunxi, You possess the bloodline of the ancient phoenix. We are a match made in heaven. The surrounding geniuses wanted to laugh, yet they didn't dare to. This Zhang Peng's stubbornness was something he had inherited from his father. This stubbornness also allowed his father to cultivate from an ordinary bird into a demon emperor. Few people dared to antagonize him, and he could be considered a legend in the immortal realms. Demonic beasts were different from humans. Stellar martial cultivators depended on their hard work and luck to grow stronger. Their comprehension abilities might also grow stronger with time. However, the talent of demonic beasts was already determined from the moment they were born. A divine bird would always be a divine bird. No matter how much an ordinary bird cultivated, it would still be hard for them to achieve anything. Qin Wentian also felt that something was strange, but he was also silently impressed by Zhang Peng's self-confidence and stubbornness. Such stubbornness would often lead to achievements that ordinary people couldn't achieve. From the depths of his heart, he felt that Namhuang Yunxi was a match made in heaven with him. I told you to scram. Namhuang Yunxi's countenance turned even colder as a cold intent gushed forth from her. This Zhang Peng actually dared to say that they were a match made in heaven? Namhuang Yunxi, if we were to be together, we would surely become a legend. Zhang Peng's stubbornness had far surpassed Qin Wentian's imagination. In fact, it even caused him to feel some disgust. This was especially so since Namhuang Yunxi was after all a woman, and a woman with a noble bloodline. Zhang Peng even said that he wanted to be together with her. Boom! A terrifying aura gushed forth. Namhuang Yunxi was truly angered. This caused Zhang Peng's expression to flicker. Although he was stubborn, he also knew that it was impossible for him to defeat the number 3 ranker Namhuang Yunxi. He could only reply, since you still haven't thought things through, you can take your time to consider my words. I'll take my leave first. After speaking, Zhang Peng's silhouette flickered as he sped away. Namhuang Yunxi's aura gradually retracted, but a cold light still flickered in her eyes. This man is truly interesting. Jun Mengchen spoke in a low voice. His original form is that of a bird, and his personality is extremely stubborn. If I didn't know that this was his nature, I would definitely not spare him. Namhuang Yunxi coldly spoke, her words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flicker. He smiled and glanced at Namhuang Yunxi, who was beside him. Who would have thought that the cold and arrogant princess of the Namhuang clan would actually have such a kind heart? Namhuang Yunxi's beautiful eyes flashed as she stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. No one had ever said such things about her before. Maybe it was because of her cold and arrogant personality that no one could get close to, and no one had truly understood her. Let's go, many people have already gone there. Qin Wentian turned his gaze towards the direction of the blood-colored mountain rampart. Over there, a figure could be seen standing. This figure was none other than the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang. BZ. A figure dashed towards the mountain rampart, but was instantly blasted out. This figure was none other than Zhang Peng. His body slumped to the ground as his countenance turned ashen. It's impossible to pass through this passageway, Zhang Peng stated. There must be another path to take. Zi Daoyang didn't say anything, he continued staring ahead. He was contemplating where he was now. If he managed to pass through this passageway, how did he do it? Could it be that he relied on his incomparably tyrannical and indestructible physique to pass through? Zi Daoyang mused in his heart. That ruthless person might really dare to do so, disregarding everything. If one couldn't withstand the pressure of the blood-colored mountain rampart, only death would await them. Ordinary people wouldn't even dare to barge in. It's very difficult to pass through with the strength of a single person, but it's a piece of cake for many people. These blood-colored runes are actually different types of innate techniques. Each of you can comprehend one of them and release your will at the same time, and you'll be able to pass through. An unhurried voice drifted out from the crowd. Everyone turned their gazes to the left and right, yet they couldn't find the person who had spoken. This caused a strange feeling to appear in their hearts. Could it be that there were other existences within the underworld mountains? In other words, if there's someone who comprehended all the runic inscriptions on this mountain rampart, they would be able to traverse it in an instant. Zi Daoyang calmly spoke, his eyes gleaming with sharpness. Was that ruthless able to accomplish this? But if that was the case, a lot of time would be wasted. The underworld mountains could absorb energy from a person's body. Unless one could resist against it, this method would undoubtedly be a foolish one. Yes, if you want to do this, no one will stop you. That cold voice drifted out once more. Zidaoyang laughed heartily. Who are you? Hiding your head but showing your tail? No one replied. That voice was like a pebble sinking into the ocean. Zidaoyang's gaze turned to the crowd as he spoke. Everyone, please choose a type of rune to comprehend. We can only gather the strength of all the geniuses and dispel it within a short period of time. Right. The geniuses nodded. Luckily, there were enough geniuses who had entered the underworld mountains this time around. It shouldn't be a problem for them to comprehend these runes. Let's try to comprehend them as well. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. He really had no idea how little rascal had managed to pass through, only to see Qin Wentian closing his eyes as his perception gushed out, gushing towards the blood-colored runic mountain rampart. Instantly, a multitude of energies condensed and manifested, gushing towards him. Qin Wentian's perception directly locked onto one of the energies as he started to comprehend the true intent within. The experts all closed their eyes to comprehend, guarding their hearts and minds. Gradually, the runic inscriptions on the blood-colored mountain rampart dimmed. The more people there were, the more power they could muster. An hour later, the entire mountain rampart fell silent. Zidaoyang opened his eyes and stepped out. The others followed closely behind him, passing through the passageway of the mountain rampart. When Qin Wentian walked through the passageway, his fingers touched the rampart as he felt a sense of wonder in his heart. What kind of person had created this? Before his eyes, there was a feeling of enlightenment. The terrain seemed to be even more vast than before. The gazes of the geniuses all trembled as they stared ahead. There seemed to be two completely different colors. One of them was dark and gloomy, like the netherworld, like a land of darkness and devils, exuding a tyrannical aura. The other side was the complete opposite. A brilliant light illuminated the skies, expelling all darkness. The aura it exuded was incomparably pure, like the aura of an emperor in the mortal world. These two completely opposite auras coexisted, as though they had been in a stalemate for countless years. Bzz. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. This figure was clad in gray, and just by standing there casually, he gave off a feeling of unexcelled in the world. Wait, we can't enter like this. A voice rang out from his mouth. He opened his eyes and stared at the crowd. His eyes were empty, like the eyes of a dead person. However, just a single glance from him caused everyone to sink into the depths of his eyes. It was like the might of the heavens, as though he could kill them with a single glance. Bzz. A gust of wind gusted by as the figure directly appeared before Zidaoyang. You guys have violated the rules, Senior. Zidaoyang wanted to speak, but he only saw the figure stretching out his hand. His movements were so fast that even the naked eye couldn't see them clearly. In the blink of an eye, Zidaoyang was grabbed by the neck and lifted into the air. This scene caused the hearts of everyone to tremble, and they felt as though they were about to stop breathing. Chapter 937. Zidaoyang was the son of Zidi, the #1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. But at this moment, he was being held by the neck in the air. It was as though that old man could take his life with a single thought. All the geniuses were incomparably nervous. The eyes of the gray-robed old man stared at Zidaoyang, as though he could see through Zidaoyang with a single glance. Boom. An intense fluctuation abruptly gushed out as a voice rang out from Zidaoyang's body. Sir, who are you? This isn't Zidaoyang's voice. The expressions of the crowd trembled. Zidi. It must be the immortal Emperor Zidi of the Immortal Realms. The eyes of the old man could see through everything. He was still staring at Zidaoyang. In his eyes, the silhouette of Zidi appeared. Who am I? And who are you? The gray-robed old man still didn't release Zidaoyang. His voice was filled with the vicissitudes of time. He had forgotten who he was, forgotten everything. This seat is Zidi of the Immortal Realms. My son is here to temper himself. I hope that you can show mercy to him. Zidi's voice rang out again. The eyes of the gray-robed old man flashed as he faintly spoke. Zidi, your strength isn't bad. Should I release your son? He seemed to be mumbling to himself. Zi Daoyang radiated a terrifying aura. Yet the gray-robed old man's palm was filled with boundless might. The entire space was filled with an extreme pressure. He stared into Zi Daoyang's eyes and spoke. Zidi, are you resisting me? Forget it. Since your son is already here, I'll release him. After speaking, the gray-robed old man flung Zi Daoyang's body far away. Upon seeing this scene, the hearts of the crowd trembled. Before this old man, let alone Zi Daoyang, he didn't even care about Zidi. Naturally, it was also possible that this mysterious old man had already forgotten everything. He didn't know anything at all. However, such an existence still remained here. Why exactly was he doing this? The gaze of the mysterious old man turned to the geniuses. His empty eyes seemed to be able to see through everyone's eyes with a single glance. Too weak. What's the point of having so many weak people here? The old man sighed, causing everyone to be speechless. These geniuses of the city of ancient emperors were actually said by this mysterious old man to be too weak. What sort of characters were these geniuses in the eyes of this mysterious old man? Forget it, let's leave it to fate. The mysterious old man sighed again. After that, he soared into the air and pointed at the place where the pure Emperor Qi was. His silhouette flickered as he directly disappeared. The crowd couldn't even see how he left. His speed was so fast that they couldn't even follow him with their eyes. What an old monster! Jun Mengchen mumbled, silently heaving a sigh of relief. As the sound of his voice faded, he suddenly felt a terrifying might descending from the skies. Jun Mengchen's countenance stiffened. He only saw a palm descending from the skies, directly lifting him up. Mengchen. Qin Wentian's expression changed. Senior, please show mercy. Among these people, you can be considered one of the stronger ones. I won't kill you, you can go over as well. With a flick of the palm, Jun Mengchen's body was directly flung forward, towards the gray region. The palm directly vanished, as though no one had ever been here. Such might caused everyone to shut their mouths, not daring to say anything more. Let's go. Everyone continued forward, staring at the two different auras soaring up into the clouds. Many questions appeared in the hearts of everyone. Was this place really the ruins of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? These two completely different auras were both left behind by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Or could it be that other than the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, there was another ancient emperor's remnant here? Finally, the crowd arrived at the center of the two different auras. These were the remnants of two ancient caves. On the left was a gloomy and cold gray aura, while on the right was a pure Emperor Qi that shone with boundless golden light. Upon arriving here, everyone couldn't help but hesitate. Where should they go? Little rascal is inside. Qin Wentian stared at the gray cave. This ancient cave was located here, and its aura towered up into the sky. This was a remnant left behind by an ancient emperor countless years ago. Yet it still exuded such a majestic aura. This should be left behind by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. The crowd stared at the aura on the left. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor was once a ruthless character, whose name shook the immortal realms. He had once killed 8 immortal emperors in a single battle. How terrifying was he? His aura would definitely be filled with a towering coldness, incomparably tyrannical, just like the aura on the left. Where do you guys want to go? Qin Wentian asked. Qing'er didn't reply. She naturally chose to follow Qin Wentian. I want to go to both sides. I don't mind. Hua Taishu calmly spoke. I will go to the right. Mengchen should be there. Zi Qingxian spoke when she sensed the pure aura. I want to go to the right as well. Nam Huang Yunxi spoke. In that case, Qing, and I will go to the left. Namfeng, the three of you will go to the right. Namfeng, please take care of the others. Qin Wentian spoke. He definitely had to see how little rascal was doing. Qing, would be with him, and Namfeng was strong enough to take care of the other 3. Right. Nam Huang Yunxi nodded. After which, the 6 of them split up. Qin Wentian and Qing, walked to the left. There were people heading to the left and right as well. There were more people heading to the left. This was naturally because of the rumors of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. The deeds of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor were simply too shocking. Qin Wentian and Qing stepped into the cave. This cave seemed to be formed naturally, but the aura it exuded was something that was formed later on. Upon entering the cave, there were many corpses on the ground. This caused the crowd to feel nervous. Seems like this place wasn't so easy to enter. If they were the slightest bit careless, their lives might be in danger. Ancient coffins. At this moment, the crowd saw that there were a few stone platforms in front of the cave. There were actually coffins there. These coffins were forged from special materials and wouldn't decay even after tens of millions of years. Zi Daoyang is over there. At this moment, the crowd saw Zi Daoyang sitting cross-legged at the side of the cave, as though he was resting with his eyes closed. What's wrong with him? What's inside these coffins? The crowd walked forward step by step. An instant later, someone walked towards the coffins and peered inside. The eyes of the geniuses turned to that person, only to see his eyes peering into the coffins. Ark! A miserable scream rang out as that person retreated explosively, directly slamming into the ground. This scream was extremely miserable, causing numerous gazes to land on him. Everyone only saw that the eyes of that person were bleeding, an extremely terrifying sight to behold. What's that? The countenances of the crowd froze as they stared at the coffins. The other geniuses who wanted to glance at the coffins all halted their steps, not daring to take another step forward. Boom! The hearts of the crowd pounded as a strange sound rang out from within the coffins. After which, they saw a pair of hands placed on the sides of the coffin. This pair of hands was incomparably pale, without a hint of blood. A cold and sinister aura enveloped the entire cave, causing everyone to feel nervous. After which, the crowd saw a head popping out from the coffin. This head turned and stared at the crowd. With just a single glance, everyone felt an intense pain in their eyes, as though they had been pierced by a blood-colored arrow. A powerful will directly gushed into the minds of the crowd, and they felt as though they had fallen into a blood-colored world. A terrifying figure that seemed like a sovereign of the world stood before them, wielding a blood-colored long hair, as though it was passing judgment on them. Qin Wentian was the same as everyone else. When that pair of eyes turned over, everyone experienced the same thing. He struggled to break free as he stared fixedly at the figure in the coffin. This was an incomparably majestic figure that seemed to be the hegemon of the world, exuding boundless divine might. 8 coffins. Qin Wentian noticed that there were 8 coffins in the cave. This meant that there were 8 such existences. Great Emperor. A terrifying voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. These 8 existences, were they the 8 peak stage immortal emperors who had died in battle back then? Their corpses were placed here by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Dong dong. Terrifying sounds could be heard as strange movements could be heard from the other 7 coffins. Numerous hands appeared next to the coffins, and numerous figures appeared, standing up from the coffins. The instant they opened their eyes, they all emitted an unparalleled aura. Boom! One of them stepped out. With a thunderous boom, all the geniuses in the cave were crushed to the ground, prostrating themselves, including Zi Daoyang, who had his eyes closed in meditation. Among the crowd, the number 8 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Bone Devil, struggled to walk forward. His eyes were fixed on a figure that crawled out of a coffin. This figure radiated a dazzling light, and there seemed to be a mysterious energy within it. Junior Bone Devil pays my respects to Ancestor. Guemo knelt on the ground and respectfully kowtowed to the figure. However, the figure's body trembled, and suddenly, an arm seemed to appear from nothingness, directly grabbing Guemo and lifting him up. The pair of empty eyes stared at Guemo. Ancestor. I'm from the Bone race, your descendant. Bone Devil's countenance drastically changed as he shouted. This Bone Devil is a member of the Bone race that has existed for countless years in the immortal realms. The figure that walked out of the coffin is actually an ancestor of Bone Devil. This is an immortal emperor, the immortal emperors who were killed by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor back then. To think that their bodies weren't destroyed. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor brought them here and placed them in these coffins. Someone exclaimed in shock. Immortal emperors, 8 immortal emperors. Have they all died? In that case, What was this figure that appeared before them? Did the Brahma Heavenly Emperor refine them into puppets? Upon thinking of this, the hearts of the crowd pounded. Immortal Emperor puppets, this? The ancestor of the bone race stared at Bone Devil, his empty eyes devoid of any emotions. Did he still have any remnant consciousness? Boom! The ancestor of the bone race flung Bone Devil's body through the air, slamming heavily into the wall. Bone Devil's broken bones healed as he inclined his head and stared at his ancestor. A look of reluctance could be seen in his eyes. His ancestor was actually refined into a puppet by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Brahma Heavenly Emperor, you are so ruthless. Is your inheritance here? Bone Devil stared into the depths of the cavern. Inheritance? What kind of ability is the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Out of all the ancient emperors in the immortal realms, only a few could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Brahma Heavenly Emperor in the ancient records. He was proficient in more than just one type of ability. The hearts of everyone trembled. If the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor was really here, what kind of storm would it cause? Chapter 938. 8 immortal emperors appeared from the coffins. The hearts of everyone were filled with shock, as well as an intense desire. This indicated that the Brahma Heavenly Emperor had truly left behind his inheritance here. If not, how could the 8 immortal emperors who died in that battle all those years ago all be here? Easy. A silhouette flashed by, only to see that mysterious old man directly standing on top of an ancient coffin. This mysterious old man swept his gaze over the 8 immortal emperors as he coldly spoke, "Don't break the rules." As the sound of his voice faded, the 8 immortal emperors retracted their auras, only at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. But no matter what, they were still immortal emperors. The pressure they exuded was ingrained deep into their bones, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Just who is this mysterious gray-robed elder? The hearts of the geniuses trembled. This mysterious old man seemed to always mention the word rules. Were the rules set by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor himself? The inheritance left behind by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Were these 8 immortal emperors a test? Qin Wentian stared at the mysterious old man. Why would this mysterious old man who didn't know his identity keep emphasizing on the rules? It was as though his existence was to protect this place. Could it be that this mysterious old man had a connection with the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? The mysterious old man's footsteps trembled. Everyone only saw a gray shadow flashing by as the old man vanished from the vision of the crowd, coming and going without a trace. After the old man left, the gazes of the geniuses all turned to the 8 immortal emperors. Powerful auras radiated from them, as numerous constellations appeared in the cavern. Qin Wentian's palms glowed with a terrifying runic light. That terrifying palm appeared once more. It was none other than the god's hand. Qing Er's body shimmered with powerful spatial energy. The spatial light enveloped both Qing Er and Qin Wentian within. "Let's go." Qing Er spoke in a low voice. After which, the spatial light flashed as she and Qin Wentian vanished from their original location, dashing towards the entrance of the cavern, wanting to enter the depths of the cavern. A terrifying golden palm print appeared directly in front of Qing Er and Qin Wentian, as if it was going to grab them out of the space force. Qing Er and Qin Wentian both attacked at the same time. The destructive fist light and the attack of God's hand were extremely terrifying, but when they collided with the golden palm imprint, they were directly destroyed. That golden palm imprint seemed to be inextinguishable and continued to stack over and over again. Rumbling sounds rang out as both Qin Wentian and Qing Er were forced back. After that, they only saw an immortal emperor, whose entire body glowed with golden light standing in front of them, obstructing those who wanted to pass through. Be careful. At this moment, Qin Wentian discovered that all the immortal emperors were charging towards him at the same time. The arm of the bone race's immortal emperor seemed to have broken free from the shackles of his body, containing astonishing offensive power. Qin Wentian released his battle art as he blasted out a terrifying palm imprint with blood-colored runic light. However, the arm of the bone race's immortal emperor suddenly turned soft and weak. At the instant when it collided with God's hand, The bone race's immortal emperor's hand continued smashing towards Qin Wentian's head. It was incomparably bizarre. Qin Wentian could only lift his left hand and blast it out. With a deafening boom, Qin Wentian was forced back, slamming into Qing hugged Qin Wentian as she stepped out. Spatial energy flickered as they directly returned to their original location. These are all immortal emperors from the ancient era. Although their cultivation bases are suppressed to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, their combat prowess is still exceedingly powerful. It's going to be tough for us to defend against them. We have to work together if we want to stand a chance against them. A genius called out. When everyone saw the immortal emperors walking towards them, they all felt an immense pressure bearing down on them. Although they had the advantage in numbers, they still didn't have the confidence to say that they would be able to win against these immortal emperors. Only to see that strange-looking immortal emperor walking towards them. His gaze directly swept towards Qin Wentian, as though he was targeted by them because Qin Wentian and Qing wanted to enter the depths of the cavern earlier. That terrifying gaze directly penetrated through Qin Wentian's will. At this instant, Qin Wentian appeared in a blood-colored space. His opponent wielded a blood-colored battle spear and directly stabbed towards him, as though it was the end of the world. Scram! Terrifying flames ignited on Qin Wentian's body as boundless runic light circulated around him. Rumbling sounds rang out as his body expanded in size, filled with boundless energy. Everyone, there are so many geniuses who entered the cavern this time around. If we don't hurry up and deal with these 8 puppets and rush into the depths of the cavern, I'm afraid we won't have such an opportunity in the future. Qin Wentian spoke. He directly stepped out as a pair of wings appeared behind him. God's hand swept out, transforming into a gigantic palm imprint, capable of suppressing everything. The light in the eyes of that immortal emperor grew increasingly terrifying, piercing through Qin Wentian's eyes. Numerous blood-colored phantoms manifested, transforming into corporeal existences. They wielded battle spears and directly blasted towards Qin Wentian's palm imprint. At the same time, that immortal emperor's body transformed into a beam of blood-colored light, penetrating through the attack. His eyes were still fixed on Qin Wentian, as though he wanted to make Qin Wentian fall into his eye technique no matter what. A terrifying blood-colored vortex appeared, directly engulfing Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's countenance abruptly changed. He glanced at his surroundings. This was no longer an illusion, but a real vortex. Swishing sounds rang out as numerous blood-colored chains shot towards Qin Wentian, wanting to lock him within this blood-colored space. A long spear appeared in Qin Wentian's god's hand as the power of his bloodline circulated around it. His body was like a wind rock, as fast as lightning, directly piercing towards his opponent. However, numerous blood-colored battle generals appeared, blocking in front of Qin Wentian, wielding blood-colored battle spears to block his attack. Qin Wentian's spear attack was extremely fast. With a shake of his arm, the spear directly pierced into a body. That body was instantly permeated by the power of his bloodline, as well as the fearsome might of the attack. After that, a thunderous boom rang out as it dissipated into nothingness. In the outside world, Qing Er's countenance abruptly turned extremely cold when she saw Qin Wentian being engulfed by the blood-colored light. The spatial energy around her transformed into countless killing weapons, dancing about frenziedly. Golden light enveloped her, causing the entire space to tremble violently. She blasted out with her palms as the immortal slaying diagram appeared before her, capable of annihilating everything. However, the silhouette of another immortal emperor stepped over, blasting out with both palms, causing the space around him to tremble violently. Qing, retreat. At this moment, a voice drifted over. It was none other than Zidaoyang. He released his constellation as a divine might descended. A dazzling divine light transformed into the silhouette of a divinity, and when the palms blasted out, Zidaoyang's energy seemed to devour them. After that, his constellation flashed as terrifying rumbling sounds shook the heavens and earth. When Zidaoyang lifted his palms to attack, the power he unleashed was no different from his opponent's attack. It was simply terrifying. Zidaoyang retreated as he fought, only to see Qing directly bypassing him. She wanted to help Qin Wentian. Yet Zi Daoyang wanted her to retreat? Bang! A terrifying aura gushed forth as Qin Wentian appeared. His steps were unsteady as blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. The glow of God's hand had also dimmed by quite a bit. Qing Er's silhouette flickered as she directly appeared beside Qin Wentian. Her clear eyes flickered with worry, while the other geniuses also started fighting. Bone Devil was actually fighting against his ancestor. He had tempered a body of copper skin and iron bones, giving him boundless might. He could extend his arms and legs at will, and his attacks were terrifying to the extreme. Naturally, just Bone Devil alone wasn't enough. His two allies were joining forces with him. Su Wuxia had a terrifying whip constellation, and when she lashed out, her whip would fill the air, lacerating her opponents. She was also wielding a long whip that glowed with terrifying runic light. Every lash of her whip would contain a destructive light that would destroy everything it touched. As expected of an expert ranked in the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Kuan Nu had boundless strength, and his golden palm imprints could suppress the heavens and earth. His strength was also extremely powerful, and it was extremely strenuous for 3 experts ranked in the top 10 to fight against an immortal emperor. Zhan Peng, why are you not coming over to help? Su Wuxia called out to the number 7 ranker, Zhan Peng. Zhan Peng's eyes flashed, and after that, his silhouette shot out like a bolt of lightning, joining the battle. As for the others, there were over 10 of them fighting against an immortal emperor. Yet they were still in a precarious situation. Because to the vast majority of them, they basically couldn't withstand a single strike from these immortal emperors. If this continued on, even if there were many geniuses, they would still be swept away one by one. BZ. It was unknown who was the first to take out an immortal-ranked weapon. For a period of time, immortal might gushed forth, but at the same instant, the eyes of the 8 immortal emperors gleamed with a dazzling light. One of them stabbed out with his finger as piercing sounds rang out. 3 geniuses were directly pierced through the center of their brows, causing them to directly fall to the ground. This included the expert who took out an immortal-ranked weapon. Bastard! Zi Daoyang retreated explosively with explosive speed, his expression extremely unsightly to behold. That genius wanted to kill them all. These were all ancient emperors. If he took out an immortal weapon, wouldn't it be equivalent to courting death? After that expert died, the gazes of these ancient emperors shifted as their auras gradually retracted. Just when everyone fell silent, Qin Wentian and Qing vanished at the same time, rushing towards the entrance of the cavern once more. That immortal emperor appeared again, blasting out a terrifying palm imprint. At this instant, Qin Wentian's God's hand completely erupted forth, destroying everything in its path. Before this, the other immortal emperors merely glanced at them. But at this moment, their countenances all changed. All of a sudden, all of them stepped out, moving as fast as lightning. BZ. Qing waved her hands as a spatial barrier appeared, transforming into a spatial vortex, sealing the path behind her. She and Qin Wentian walked side by side as boundless spatial energy gushed forth. Also, a terrifying light radiated from her, as though her attack power had skyrocketed, capable of destroying everything. Under the dual attacks, even that immortal emperor felt that things were getting troublesome. He glanced at the 2 of them before his silhouette flickered to the side, directly opening up a path for them. Busy. Qing and Qin Wentian passed by him at the same time, entering the depths of the cavern. Go. When the others saw this scene, they all rushed out as a violent aura engulfed the area. All of them unleashed their strength to the limits, disregarding everything, wanting to rush out. Chapter 939. Qin Wentian and Qing'er rushed out of that region. As expected, the 8 ancient emperors didn't chase after them. They walked shoulder to shoulder as an ancient aura permeated the air. Finally, Qin Wentian and Qing'er saw the ancient ruins ahead. They halted their steps as their gazes froze there. Ahead, there seemed to be a terrifying statue that towered into the heavens. This statue was in the form of an incomparably gigantic demonic beast, exuding an incomparably tyrannical aura. It had 9 heads and 9 pairs of eyes, each containing a different type of terrifying will. Each of the wills exuded a towering aura, unexcelled in the world, an awe-inspiring might. When the 9 heads stood side by side, it gave off an aura of supremacy. It was unknown how terrifying this demonic beast must have been when it was alive. With 9 heads, its body stretched out for an unknown distance. Not only that, the appearance of this demonic beast bore a faint resemblance to Little Rascal. Is this the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? A legendary character whose name shook the immortal realms, an ancient emperor whose name shook the entire immortal realms. Is his true form a demonic beast? The Brahma Heavenly Demon Emperor? Qin Wentian mumbled in his heart. His gaze shifted to the gigantic body below. Below each of its 9 heads, there was a mystical runic diagram inscribed on each of its heads, and there were exactly 9 different locations. At this moment, in 2 of the diagrams, a silhouette could be seen. 1 human, 1 demon. That demon was none other than Little Rascal. As for that person, it was a young man exuding a cold aura. His brows were as sharp as swords, and although his eyes were closed, he still exuded a sense of sharpness. His aura was extremely cold, and Qin Wentian's intuition told him that this person was definitely a dangerous character. Number 2 on the Immortal Ascension rankings, Wuxia. Qin Wentian silently mused. He instantly knew who this person was. He was none other than the ruthless character that all the geniuses were talking about, the number 2 ranker on the Immortal Ascension rankings. As expected, he had long entered this place and relied on his own strength to reach this point. Most probably, what he had experienced was much more difficult compared to what Qin Wentian had imagined. What's going on? Qin Wentian turned his gaze to the other diagrams. Out of the 9 diagrams, there were quite a few that were dim and lusterless, as though the runic patterns on them had already faded. This was similar to the one Wuxia was sitting on, but it was even dimmer than the one Wuxia was sitting on. Wuxia has been here for quite a long time. He must have comprehended the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance earlier than Little Rascal. In that case, this dimming signifies that the inheritance is about to end. In other words, those few diagrams that have already dimmed are places where people have sat before. Did someone come here before Wuxia? Or could it be that this is also caused by the cultivation of evil devils? Qin Wentian's heart was filled with doubt. There are 2 more spots. You should go. Qing Er stared at Qin Wentian. Her voice was melodious, and a hint of anticipation could be seen in her beautiful eyes. This might very well be the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Qing Er clearly hoped that Qin Wentian would be able to obtain it. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. He glanced at Little Rascal, and at this moment a bright light flashed. Qin Wentian only saw Little Rascal opening its eyes as it stared at Qin Wentian. No, Little Rascal. Qin Wentian called out, as a look of bewilderment flashed in his eyes. My inheritance is divided into 9 parts, and each person can only obtain 1. If you wish to obtain my lifetime's worth of power, become an emperor in the immortal realms, dominate everything under the heavens, and devour the power of the other 8. 9 by 9 return to 1, fusing the 9 great inheritances into a single body, achieving the name of Brahma Heavenly Emperor. A voice rang out from Little Rascal's mouth. Although Little Rascal's voice was still immature, one could still sense the tyrannical sharpness in its words. This must have been left behind by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. If you want to obtain my lifetime's worth of power, you have to fuse the 9 great inheritances into a single body. A sharp light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. He could see a hint of hope in Little Rascal's eyes. Evidently, Little Rascal didn't want him to cultivate the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. Once he cultivated it, it would mean that if he wanted to obtain the full power of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, he and Little Rascal would become enemies. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor is a demon emperor, and he believes in strength above all else. The weak are prey to the strong. If you want to obtain your full inheritance, you have to devour the other 8 existences, choosing 1 out of the 9. Undoubtedly, the one who obtained the full inheritance would be the most terrifying existence. How could Qin Wentian not understand the meaning behind the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's words? What a ruthless method, making his inheritors compete against each other, splitting the inheritance into 9 parts. In this case, Even if one of the inheritors died, the Brahma Heavenly Emperor would still have a successor, and his inheritance wouldn't be severed. If there was only one inheritor, the chances of the inheritance being severed would be even higher. Fine, I won't cultivate the inheritance. Qin Wentian smiled. Would you be in danger here? Of the 9 inheritors of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, there were already 2 of them here. If the second ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings finished his cultivation and Little Rascal also obtained one of the 9 inheritors, he would definitely act against Little Rascal. Little Rascal shook his head, after which he blasted his palms outwards. Instantly, beams of runic light flashed as his entire body was enveloped by a screen of light. Upon seeing this scene, Qin Wentian set his heart at ease. Seems like the inheritance process wouldn't be interrupted at all. Busy. At this moment, the sound of wind drifted over from behind. Qin Wentian and Qing abruptly turned their gazes over, only to see numerous experts rushing over. These were none other than the geniuses who were blocked outside earlier. This scene caused a strange expression to appear on Qin Wentian's face. Why did all of them enter? How tyrannical were the 8 ancient emperors? To think that they actually managed to enter this place. A gray-colored silhouette stepped in. He directly stood in the airspace above the cavern and swept his gaze over, landing on Qin Wentian and Qing. You guys actually didn't go over? The gray-robed old man mumbled to himself, staring at Qin Wentian and Qing in bewilderment. This scene caused Qin Wentian to understand something. Out of the 9 great inheritances of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, there were only 2 slots left. Before Wuxia and Little Rascal, there were already 5 others who had obtained the power of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. In that case, when he and Qing entered this place, it meant that there were no more slots left. However, the gray-robed old man didn't expect that he and Qing wouldn't be able to obtain the power of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Senior, we are willing to give up. Qin Wentian spoke. Give up, give up. The old man's gaze was absent-minded as a terrifying gleam of sharpness abruptly shot out. Bzzz, a gust of wind gusted by as the gray-robed old man directly appeared before Qin Wentian. A terrifying pressure gushed over, causing Qin Wentian to feel a sense of suffocation as he stared ahead. You actually gave up. The mysterious old man seemed to be extremely enraged. He took a step forward and with a thunderous boom, Qin Wentian's body directly slammed into the statue. However, he was obstructed by a fearsome resistance. A screen of runic light appeared, and when he neared the statue, an incomparably heavy pressure actually appeared, blocking him. Qing Er's countenance turned cold, wanting to block the old man. However, the old man's silhouette flickered, appearing before Qin Wentian once again. His eyes were extremely terrifying. You guys really want to give up? Why, Senior? Qin Wentian pointed his finger at Little Rascal. That's my comrade. You should understand why I gave up. Your comrade? The mysterious old man glanced at Little Rascal before turning his gaze back to Qin Wentian, as though he understood something. After which he sighed. Forget it, let them fight for it then. As for who can obtain it, it's up to you guys. As the sound of his voice faded, his silhouette flickered as he vanished once again. Fight! The eyes of the geniuses all gleamed with a terrifying sharpness as they stared at the fearsome statue of the demonic beast. With a single glance, they locked onto the 2 glowing diagrams. These 2 positions were undoubtedly the positions of the inheritors. Let's go. Qin Wentian and Qing sped to the side. After which, a terrifying rumbling sound engulfed the heavens and earth as they madly rushed forward. Zidaoyang's speed was the fastest. With a single step, he directly entered the screen of light. Turning his head back, he roared in rage, scram. This roar of rage shook the heavens and earth, like the sound of the great Tao, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble violently. I want one. Zhanpeng's speed was incomparably fast. His eyes were filled with stubbornness. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor was actually a demon emperor. In that case, he definitely had to fight for a position because he and the Brahma Heavenly Emperor were the same species. Rumble. Zidaoyang slowly stepped into the screen of light. His aura shook the heavens. Who would dare to obstruct him? The people behind him madly rushed towards the screen of light, after which their bodies seemed to have sunk into a quagmire, unable to move at all. However, they still used all their strength to advance forward. Bone Devil's arms expanded explosively, flickering with terrifying runic light. He directly blasted out towards two silhouettes, causing a deafening boom to ring out. The two of them sank into the quagmire and were directly pierced through by Bone Devil's arms, instantly dying. Su Rushua's divine whip constellation was unleashed to the extreme. Her body coiled around the long whip as she ferociously lashed out in all directions. Crisp sounds rang out unceasingly, and every lash of the whip landed on the bodies of others, directly penetrating into their bones, causing them to be drenched in blood. The other geniuses all frenziedly attacked. Because they were all trapped in the quagmire, it was difficult for them to move. They could only clash head-on, and it was extremely dangerous. In the blink of an eye, over 10 geniuses had either fallen or were injured. It was an incomparably tragic scene. Qin Wentian and Qing were like spectators, watching this battle that was even more intense compared to the one outside. Before this, when they were dealing with the 8 immortal emperors, the various geniuses worked together as one. But when it came to fighting for the inheritance, blood instantly flowed everywhere. There was no longer any so-called allies, and anyone could act against them from the back. At this moment, a dazzling red silhouette flashed over, so fast that it was like a bolt of lightning. A terrifying blood-colored flame blazed around it, containing a might that could destroy everything as it instantly rushed into the crowd. That figure directly pointed a finger forward. Instantly, a surge of red flames danced in the air, transforming into a fearsome divine phoenix. Boom! Several figures started to burn at the same time, as though they were about to be incinerated. Southern Phoenix. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Why did the Southern Phoenix come? Also, the aura of the Southern Phoenix at this moment was extremely terrifying. Before this, although Namhuang Yunxi was cold, she wasn't as cold as she was now. What happened to her? Chapter 940. The aura radiating from Namhuang Yunxi was exceedingly cold. However, a terrifying divine flame blazed around her body, as though it would extinguish the moment it touched her. The various geniuses also discovered Namhuang Yunxi's existence. They abruptly turned around as their expressions changed. Wariness could be seen on their faces as powerful auras gushed forth from them. However, Namhuang Yunxi acted as though she didn't notice them at all. A resplendent glow radiated from her as the flames around her grew brighter and brighter, resembling the flames of blood, exuding a bewitching beauty. Namhuang Yunxi stabbed out with her finger once again. Scarlet flames shuttled through the air, and in front of those geniuses, a brilliant red light flashed as a fearsome blazing feather directly slashed out. A piercing sound rang out as the arm of one of the geniuses was severed. The other geniuses frenziedly launched attacks, blocking Namhuang Yunxi's attack. And at the very front, Zi Daoyang was unstoppable. He continued advancing towards one of the 2 ancient seats. It was as though the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang, would definitely be able to lock down one of the ancient seats. The others could only fight for the last seat. Namhuang Yunxi's killing spree was incomparably decisive, causing the various geniuses to feel an intense sense of danger. The top 3 rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings were all in this space. Among them, the number 2 ranker, Wuxia, was currently sitting on one of the ancient seats. It was unknown how long he had been comprehending, and it was most likely that he wouldn't be too far away from obtaining the inheritance. The number 1 ranker, Zi Daoyang, was fighting for a seat of the ancient inheritance. Who else would be able to contend against the number 3 ranker, Namhuang Yunxi? Qin Wentian furrowed his brows. Was this really Namhuang Yunxi? Namfeng! Qin Wentian called out. He dashed out, similarly moving towards Namhuang Yunxi. Qing'er followed closely behind Qin Wentian. Namhuang Yunxi was currently fighting against the other geniuses, and she didn't pay attention to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian and Qing'er were left at the back, and in addition to Qing'er's spatial manipulation, the 2 of them got closer and closer to Namhuang Yunxi. Puchi! Namhuang Yunxi's gaze abruptly shifted as she directly slashed out an attack, targeting both Qin Wentian and Qing'er. At this moment, Qin Wentian saw her eyes. Those eyes were extremely cold, devoid of any emotions. Qin Wentian's gaze seemed to be able to pierce through Nam Huang Yunxi's eyes, and he felt a sense of déjà vu bang. Qing'er and Nam Huang Yunxi's attacks collided together. It's you. Qin Wentian seemed to have understood who the person before him was. This wasn't Nam Huang Yunxi, but that nether-like woman he met when he entered the underworld mountains back then. She possessed a terrifying and mysterious power, and was able to possess the body of others. Right now, Qin Wentian had a strong feeling that the current Nam Huang Yunxi was that mysterious woman. She was currently occupying Nam Huang Yunxi's body, seizing the position of inheritance. At this moment, Qin Wentian suddenly had a strange feeling. He was even wondering if the person who spread the news of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor was her, attracting so many geniuses to the underworld mountains, seizing the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Before this, the only possibility was this woman. The other person who came to the underworld mountains was Wuxia. He had always been cultivating, and it was impossible for him to be the one who spread the news. Qing'er, I want to get close to her. Qin Wentian spoke. Qing'er didn't reply. She blasted out with her palms, and a terrifying spatial fist light shot out, wanting to tear everything apart. Nam Huang Yunxi coldly stared in their direction. Her finger pointed out once more, and instantly, a demonic red color appeared in this space. Numerous feathers resembling real sharp blades slashed over, lacerating the void. Quickly deal with her. Qin Wentian roared to the other geniuses. However, he only saw the others rushing towards the position of inheritance, giving it their all. As for Nam Huang Yunxi, she was being held back by Qing'er and Qin Wentian. As long as it didn't affect them, it didn't matter. Upon seeing this scene, Qin Wentian's expression froze. He knew that it was meaningless to rely on these geniuses. But if Nam Huang Yunxi was allowed to seize the position of inheritance, he wouldn't agree to it. Once that mysterious woman controlled Nam Huang Yunxi and seized the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, from then on, Nam Huang Yunxi would no longer be Nam Huang Yunxi. That mysterious woman would always occupy her body because she possessed the inheritance. Nam Huang Yunxi would completely disappear, and in the future, Little Rascal and her would be enemies. Evidently, this was something that Qin Wentian didn't want to see. Qing'er, just hold her back. Qin Wentian suddenly changed his strategy. His body abruptly expanded in size as he blasted out with his palms. At the same time, numerous golden silhouettes descended from the sky, surrounding Nam Huang Yunxi, cutting off her path of retreat. Nam Huang Yunxi's gaze was so cold that it was bone-piercing. She stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. Her hatred for Qin Wentian was so deep that it seeped into her bones. She spent so much effort just to seize the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. But just as she was about to obtain it, Qin Wentian was about to spoil her plans. How could she be willing to accept this? Bzz. Nam Huang Yunxi's body abruptly erupted with a towering red light, engulfing the heavens and earth. Her bloodline seemed to be roaring as her incomparably resplendent phoenix feathers appeared, as though she was wearing a robe made of phoenix feathers. Her body trembled slightly as boundless resplendent feathers slashed out, seemingly capable of slashing apart space itself. Qing'er stared at the boundless killing light as her long hair fluttered in the wind. She roared in a melodious voice as she frenziedly blasted out with both her palms. The immortal slaying diagram transformed into a terrifying vortex, absorbing all the slashing energy into it. Qing'er, let's go. Qin Wentian turned his gaze to the front. Seeing that the situation had already been decided, there was no longer a need to continue fighting. Since that mysterious maiden couldn't obtain the inheritance, she would definitely return to her original body. There was no longer any meaning for her to possess Nam Huang Yunxi's body. Given the mysterious maiden's unique strength, even an existence on the level of Nam Huang Yunxi was easily possessed by her. There was basically no one at the celestial phenomenon realm who could obstruct her. Only the power of his bloodline seemed to have a special deterrent effect against her. Qing'er pushed out with both her palms as the immortal slaying diagram frenziedly slashed forward. After which, Both she and Qin Wentian retreated. After Namhuang Yunqi blocked her attack, she didn't pursue them. Instead, she directly turned and flew towards the ancient inheritance seat. But when she saw the situation there, her countenance turned pale. Zi Daoyang had already seized one of the ancient inheritances, and the last one was actually obtained by that extremely stubborn bird, Zhan Peng. Zhan Peng's entire body was riddled with injuries, and he was drenched in blood. Just before he ascended the ancient inheritance, Su Rushua's long whip still lashed out at him, lacerating his flesh and causing his flesh and blood to splatter everywhere. However, Zhan Peng didn't even make a sound, disregarding everything else as he ascended the ancient inheritance. There seemed to be something extraordinary about this stubborn bird. Arg! Namfeng Yunqi let out a long howl when she saw this scene. She was incomparably enraged, and her expression was filled with a terrifying rage. That cold and imposing gaze of hers directly caused the geniuses around her to feel a bone-chilling coldness. They stared at Namfeng Yunqi in disbelief. The number 3 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings actually gave them an incomparably fearsome feeling. Her rage caused everyone to feel a sense of terror that originated from the depths of their souls. However, there were also quite a few people who were unwilling to give up. They continued rushing towards Zhan Peng's position, wanting to step onto the ancient seat and expel him from it. However, the instant Zhan Peng sat down on the ancient seat, a resplendent runic light enveloped his body. The attacks of those heavens chosen were directly blocked by the light, unable to threaten Zhan Peng in the slightest. When Zhan Peng saw this scene, his eyes flickered with excitement. He had finally obtained it. He had obtained the ancient inheritance in the competition between the geniuses. He would definitely rise up and kill the sovereign of the sky, becoming an existence that surpassed the divine bird. Qin Wentian and Qing'er silently departed from this place. Since Little Rascal had his own good fortune, Qin Wentian naturally wished him well. However, the enemies Little Rascal would have to face next were all extremely terrifying. The 3 people before him were none other than the number 7 ranker, Zhan Peng, the number 1 ranker, Zi Daoyang, and the number 2 ranker, Wuxia. Other than them, there were still 5 others who had obtained the ancient inheritances. Qin Wentian had no idea who they were, but it was clear that they had obtained the ancient inheritances a long time ago, and their cultivation bases were unfathomable. The 2 of them passed by the cavern outside. The 8 immortal emperors no longer had any auras, as though they had never lived before. Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't disturb them. He continued on his way, and when he arrived outside the cavern, he saw the mysterious gray-robed old man standing there with his hands clasped behind his back, exuding an incomparably lonely aura. His back view seemed to fuse together with the transcendent might of the palace, as though he was the supreme ruler of this place. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Wentian had personally seen the statues and the 9 ancient inheritances, he might have even thought that this gray-robed old man was the Brahma Heavenly Emperor himself. At this moment, Qin Wentian was filled with suspicions regarding the identity of this gray-robed old man. Who was he exactly? Everything has ended, the gray-robed old man mumbled. The 9 ancient inheritances had all been passed down, and it was as though his mission had already been accomplished. I seem to have recalled something, the gray-robed old man murmured. His body hadn't moved at all, and his back was still facing Qin Wentian and Qin Wentian. This place is the place where the Brahma Heavenly Emperor left his inheritance. He left behind 9 inheritances, wanting his 9 successors to contend against each other. Once all 9 inheritances were passed down, all the other successors would be able to sense it. The old man spoke in a low voice. He then turned his gaze to the front, only to see him stretching out his hand and pointing ahead as he continued. Not only did I recall the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, I also recalled who he was. Back then, the name of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor shook the entire immortal realms, slaying 8 immortal emperors in a single battle. Whoever dared to contend against him, those who fought would die. He was invincible in the immortal realms, and everyone in the world feared him. The tone of the mysterious gray-robed old man gradually grew agitated. He pointed to the golden light that illuminated the sky, as well as the cavern over there as he spoke. Only he can contend against the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. He is a truly supreme character. He fought against the Brahma Heavenly Emperor alone, causing the Brahma Heavenly Emperor to be trapped here forever. Such a character, in the entire immortal realms, there's no one else like him. Chapter 941. When Qin Wentian saw the agitated look on the gray-robed old man's face, he turned his gaze ahead. The supreme aura of an emperor clashed against the terrifying aura left behind by the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Both of them remained in the cave, and it was as though their battle wouldn't lose its brilliance with the passage of time. Back then, when the ancient emperors contended for supremacy, the Brahma Heavenly Emperor was unparalleled under the heavens, the only person who could be his opponent. The two of them fought here, causing the unparalleled Brahma Heavenly Emperor to die here. How imposing was that? What kind of scene was the battle between the two of them? If time could be reversed, Qin Wentian really wanted to go back and witness the shocking battle between the two of them. The auras of the two ancient emperors hadn't dissipated despite the passage of countless years. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor left his inheritance here, allowing his 9 successors to compete against each other, until only one remained. Such a cruel method was most probably to use the cruelest method to select a truly outstanding character like him. After his death, it seemed that he still wanted to defeat the existence opposite him. These two ancient emperors, ambitious and ruthless characters, must have admired each other and admired each other. Since you didn't receive the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, are you preparing to head to the cave on the other side? At this moment, the gray-robed old man asked in a low voice. After that, he slowly turned and stared at Qin Wentian. I won't hide it from Senior. Junior does wish to go there and take a look. Qin Wentian replied. As the sound of his voice faded, the gray-robed old man stared at him. After that, he sighed. Oh well, your companion obtained the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, and you were willing to give it up. Now that you are heading to the other side, everything has its own destiny. If you also obtained the inheritance, you and your companion would have inherited both of their inheritances. Perhaps everything has its own destiny. Senior, how can it be so easy to obtain the inheritance? Let's leave everything up to fate. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. Just like before, he exhausted all his energy and finally reached the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's side. As long as he was willing to take that step, he would be able to become one of the inheritors of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. However, he chose to give it up. How could it be so easy to obtain the inheritance on the other side? He would fight for it, but if he couldn't, he wouldn't feel too bad. Well said. Everything is up to fate. I should go now. The old man's eyes lit up. His silhouette flickered as he appeared in the sky. Leave everything up to fate. A clear voice echoed in the air. The mysterious gray-robed old man took a step forward and disappeared from this place. It was as if he had completed his mission, and no longer had the heart to stay here. Leave everything up to fate. He should naturally seek his own self. Who exactly was he? Shall we go? Qing, asked in a low voice when she saw Qin Wentian staring at the back of the gray-robed old man in a daze. Yes, but let's wait for a bit. As Qin Wentian spoke, his aura abruptly gushed forth. In fact, he even released the power of his constellation. After which, rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as he continued walking on the ground. Within the cavern, some geniuses walked out. Naturally, these were those who knew that they had no hope of obtaining the inheritance, and had decided to give up. They were preparing to head to the other side, only to see that the genius who walked out glanced at Qin Wentian and Qing, as his eyes gleamed with sharpness. However, he didn't say anything and continued walking forward. After that, more and more experts walked out. Although they felt some reluctance in their hearts, the radiance from the inheritance severed their hopes. Other than the inheritance, there was only that gigantic 9-headed statue and nothing else. After searching for some time, even if they didn't want to give up, they had no choice but to give up. Let alone the fact that the aura from the other side was also extremely terrifying. Maybe, they might also have a heaven-shaking inheritance. Why was there a need to stubbornly cling onto the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? Many people saw Qin Wentian and Qing, as they walked past them. Finally, Nam Huang Yunxi also walked out. When she saw Qin Wentian and Qin Wentian, a cold light flickered in her eyes. That imposing gaze of hers contained an unquestionable authority. She walked step by step towards Qin Wentian and spoke for the first time. "Spoiling my plans, do you know that this is courting death?" As the sound of her voice faded, her aura gushed forth. The energy she used was none other than Nam Huang Yunxi's energy. It was very hard to imagine that after possessing Nam Huang Yunxi's body, she was actually able to unleash Nam Huang Yunxi's energy in such a short period of time with such proficiency. Just this mysterious ability alone caused Qin Wentian to feel somewhat fearful. That figure walked towards Qin Wentian step by step. Each step was filled with resolution. Her gaze was as cold as ever, devoid of any emotions. Finally she moved. Phoenix wings soars the heavens, exuding a terrifying might. The bewitching red light radiated forth once again, causing everything to lose its color. She unleashed a terrifying attack towards Qin Wentian. Qing also moved. The immortal executioner diagram bloomed. The terrifying and resplendent diagram wanted to annihilate everything, entangling everything within the vortex, resisting the opponent's attack. It was as though she was always by Qin Wentian's side, and would only use her energy when Qin Wentian needed it. At this moment, Qin Wentian suddenly stomped on the ground. A resplendent light shot up into the sky, as though the shadow of a golden deity had appeared. Light runes illuminated the sky, and a suppressive force was born. Nam Huang Yunxi's countenance suddenly changed. An incomparably resplendent diagram appeared beneath her feet. She seemed to have stepped into the trap that Qin Wentian had set for her. Nam Huang Yunxi wanted to retreat, but at this moment, the diagram seemed to have closed up. The dazzling light transformed into a terrifying character, and she suddenly felt that she couldn't move at all. All the energy in her body seemed to have been sealed and suppressed by the gigantic character. Although she had tyrannical strength, it was useless at this moment. She couldn't even move her body. In front of her, Qin Wentian's body flickered like the wind. His palm, which was covered in scorching white light, directly pressed out, landing on Nam Huang Yunxi's chest. A terrifying bloodline power enveloped Nam Huang Yunxi's body, but it didn't destroy it. Instead, it seeped into her body bit by bit. Boom, boom, boom. An extremely cold aura bloomed from Nam Huang Yunxi's body. There seemed to be a white shadow that was about to come out, but it was still struggling. Nam Huang Yunxi revealed a pained expression. Qin Wentian's countenance was like lightning. He blasted out with his other hand, pressing both of his palms on Nam Huang Yunxi's chest at the same time. He was determined to expel the other party from Nam Huang Yunxi's body. At this moment, brilliant white light bloomed from all over Nam Huang Yunxi's body, and the white light seeped into her body bit by bit. Finally, with a boom, a body seemed to have left Nam Huang Yunxi's body and flew into the void. It was the mysterious woman. Her eyes were extremely cold, staring at Qin Wentian coldly. That peerless beauty was devoid of any color. Nam Huang Yunxi finally awoke from her stupor. She stared at the scene in front of her, staring at the place where Qin Wentian's hands were touching. Her face instantly turned red. One could very well imagine how unsightly her countenance was when she saw such a scene right after she awoke. "Not enough?" asked Nam Huang Yunxi coldly. Qin Wentian retracted his gaze from the woman in the void, and put his hands down at lightning speed. Looking at Nam Huang Yunxi's sharp eyes, he couldn't help but tremble as he said, "I was in a hurry, don't blame me, don't blame me." At this moment, Qin Wentian was extremely embarrassed. Nam Huang Yunxi looked at his eyes and immediately turned her head away. Although she was very angry in her heart, she knew that if someone dared to take advantage of her like this, she would definitely kill that person. But she also knew that Qin Wentian didn't do it on purpose. He did it to help her. What could she do? Raising her head, Nam Huang Yunxi also looked at the mysterious figure in the void. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a deep sense of fear. Fortunately, Qin Wentian had expelled her from his body, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Buzz. A gust of wind brushed past, and the woman directly appeared in front of Qin Wentian, extending her hand towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian raised his hand and blasted out a palm of flames. The woman's silhouette flickered again, and appeared behind Qin Wentian like a specter. Her eyes were cold as she stared at Qin Wentian. Finally, her silhouette drifted away like a gust of wind, leaving this place. "Are you all right?" asked Qin Wentian to Nam Huang Yunxi. But when he saw Nam Huang Yunxi looking at him coldly, Qin Wentian could only smile. He turned around and said to Qing Er, "Let's go." However, he saw that Qing Er was also looking at him cold. Qin Wentian couldn't help but explain, "Qing Er, I didn't do it on purpose." "MHM." Qing Er's voice was crisp and clear. "Was it comfortable?" After speaking, she turned and walked away. Qin Wentian was petrified. He was speechless. "Qing Er, I was wrong." Qing Er blinked and chased after them only to see Nanfeng Yunxi's beautiful eyes flickering as she stared at the two of them. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a similar light as she stared at the two of them. "Comfortable?" Upon thinking of this, Nam Huang Yunxi's countenance turned cold again as she stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. Boundless beams of light shot up into the sky. The aura contained within the cave was like a king descending from the heavens. It was completely different from the aura of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's cave. It was as though they were two opposing existences. Qin Wentian, Qing Er, and Nam Huang Yunxi appeared outside the cave. It was as though the three of them had already forgotten about what happened earlier. "Let's enter." Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. The three of them stepped out and entered the cave. That powerful aura seemed to have become even purer. Within the cave, golden light flashed, illuminating every corner. There were many geniuses here. They stared ahead only to see an incomparably pure king light interweaving together to form a magnificent diagram. Over there seemed to be a figure cast from pure gold. It was like a king from the primordial era, lying within the golden light. Just the light flowing around it caused people to feel the terrifying might contained within. Chapter 942. Senior Brother Qin, you guys are here. Jun Mingchen was also here. Upon seeing Qin Wentian walking over, his eyes flashed with excitement. After which he turned to Nam Huang Yunxi and asked, "What happened to you earlier?" "Nothing much." Nam Huang Yunxi shook her head and didn't say anything more. "Oh." A puzzled expression appeared on Jun Mingchen's face, but he didn't probe further. Qin Wentian stared at them and asked, "What's going on here?" "This seems to be the inheritance of an ancient emperor, and it's an extremely powerful inheritance. Every step taken in this space is incomparably difficult, but the moment you step in, you'll feel a mysterious energy, and even some strange scenes. I'm not sure what's going on, but senior brother, you'll know after you try it." Jun Mingchen spoke to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian turned his gaze ahead, only to see that within this flowing golden light, there were several silhouettes currently walking forward with great difficulty. It was as though every step they took was an immense challenge to them. "What's the situation over there? Why are there so many people here?" Hua Taishu asked Qin Wentian. The Brahma Heavenly Emperor set up a total of 9 inheritances, and each person can only obtain one portion of the inheritance. Before we came here, there were only 2 remaining. Now both Si Daoyang and Zhan Peng have obtained them. Hence, the others have all gathered here, Qin Wentian replied. And Hua Taishu instantly understood. It's really the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor? A strange light flashed in Hua Taishu's eyes. What a pity, there were no more inheritances left. He stared at Qin Wentian, Qing Er and Nam Huang Yunxi. The 3 of them actually didn't manage to obtain any of the inheritances? This seemed a little strange. It's indeed the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Not only that, the inheritance here definitely wouldn't be simple. Qin Wentian stared at the golden body before him as he asked, "What is that golden body?" "Senior brother Qin, I told you that you will know after you try. Go ahead," Jun Mingchen said to Qin Wentian, seemingly trying to encourage him to try. "All right." Qin Wentian nodded. His eyes flickered as he stepped toward the golden light ahead. The intense light instantly enveloped him. In just an instant, the space seemed to have changed. Qin Wentian faintly felt that he had appeared in another fixed space. In this place, many geniuses were in different directions, and all of them were struggling to move forward step by step. In front of them, the golden figure floated there, but there was an incomparably terrifying power emanating from it. It was as if one could immediately feel the existence of a strange pressure when they got close to it. Boom! Qin Wentian stepped forward, yet he felt that he wasn't close enough to the golden figure. A beam of intense light blasted over, directly blasting into Qin Wentian's body. Qin Wentian basically didn't have time to resist. The golden figure radiated a terrifying beam of light, causing his body to violently tremble. That beam of light that blasted into his body caused him to feel an incomparably powerful force. Qin Wentian was somewhat taken aback. What was going on? He continued walking forward. The golden figure was still floating at its original location, as though the distance between them hadn't changed at all. However, another beam of terrifying light blasted into Qin Wentian's body. Qin Wentian's body glowed with an intense light. He could faintly sense that there was an astonishing amount of energy hidden within his body that could erupt at any moment. What the hell is going on? Clearly, Qin Wentian hadn't expected such a situation to occur. He walked forward step by step. He found that the distance between him and the body made of pure gold was still the same. It was so close, yet so far away. His aura grew stronger and stronger. Beams of light blasted into his body, causing his entire body to contain an astonishing might. It was extremely terrifying. However, the more it was like this, the more he seemed to be able to sense the supreme pressure emanating from the golden body. He faintly felt that his body was out of control, as if his power was about to be replaced by the power that the golden body shot into his body. Boom! With a loud sound, the power in Qin Wentian's body was instantly removed. His body seemed to have encountered an extremely terrifying heavy blow, causing his body to explosively retreat. It was as though he had been struck out of that wondrous space in an instant. Even after he came out, he still stumbled backward. He spat out a mouthful of blood. It was as though there was a stifling feeling in his body. What the hell? Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared ahead. At this moment, everything became clear again. It was as though everything earlier was just a dream, yet it truly existed. Only now did he truly sense that he was extremely close to the golden figure. That golden figure seemed to be a terrifying existence, waiting for someone to awaken it. Not only Qin Wentian, there were many geniuses who tried to break free from the golden figure. All of them were injured and felt their auras fluctuating unstably. All of them inclined their heads and stared ahead, their eyes gleaming with sharpness. That mysterious gray-robed old man once said that the existence who fought against the Brahma Heavenly Emperor was an unparalleled character. In the boundless immortal realms, there was only one who could fight against the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. In fact, after the two of them fought, the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, who was unrivaled in the immortal realms, had fallen. For such a character to leave behind a mysterious golden figure in this place, there would definitely be a deeper meaning behind it. It was just that the profoundness behind it was extremely hard to fathom. One could only depend on themselves to comprehend it. Senior brother, how is it? Jun Mengchen smiled at Qin Wentian. Both he and Hua Taishu had experienced it before and knew how mysterious the golden figure was. I still have no way to understand what secrets are hidden within. Let me try again. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he continued forward. Once again, he entered a mysterious space. The golden figure seemed to be an extremely ancient existence, quietly floating there yet exuding a towering might. Qin Wentian stared at the golden figure before him. He adjusted his breathing and took another step forward. When the mystical energy entered his body, he channeled it into his body, circulating it throughout his entire body before continuing forward. After doing this many times, a tyrannical aura radiated from Qin Wentian. He drew in a deep breath and adjusted the energy in his body. His bloodline surged as though he wanted to transform that mystical energy into his own. His body glowed with a golden light, and he could faintly sense that the energy within the golden figure was resonating with him. What a powerful aura! What exactly is this golden figure? Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. He took another step forward and with a rumbling sound, an even more terrifying energy entered his body, wanting to break through his limits. This energy almost broke the balance of Qin Wentian's body, causing him to groan in misery as he almost coughed out another mouthful of blood. However, he managed to stabilize himself. His blood surged and rumbled as sounds rang out. Qin Wentian's heart pounded rapidly, as though the heart of the golden figure was beating as well, causing his heart to resonate with it. Qin Wentian's heartbeat accelerated, as though it was about to jump out of his body. Qin Wentian's blood surged frenziedly as he stared at the golden figure, his eyes filled with awe. Pooh! Finally, he coughed out a mouthful of blood uncontrollably. Qin Wentian's body was blasted away once more, unable to withstand that terrifying pressure. What sort of existence is that? Someone at the side mumbled. Qin Wentian's experience was the same as the others. He tried to break through again and again, only to fail again and again. That floating golden figure seemed to be an ancient existence, like an undying king that had eternal life. Test. This must be another type of test, just like the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's trial. Someone replied. Isn't such a test a little too strange? How can this be considered a test? How do we pass the test? Another genius asked. Have you guys heard of the casting body? At this moment, a melodious voice rang out. The person who spoke was none other than Namhuang Yunxi. Earlier when Qin Wentian tried, she had also tried it and was similarly shocked in her heart. Casting body. The expressions of everyone froze as they stared at Namhuang Yunxi. As the descendants of immortal kings and emperors, although they didn't think in this direction, they had clearly heard of this before. When Namhuang Yunxi said this, their hearts trembled as well. Is there really a casting body? The voice of a genius trembled slightly. Although he said this, he could also sense that this situation was similar to a casting body. It was just that they didn't dare to imagine it. They were able to encounter a casting body in this place. What is a casting body? Qin Wentian asked, his words causing many to stare at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. This person was also a character whose name shook the entire city of ancient emperors. Yet he actually didn't know what a casting body was? What identity did this Qin Wentian have exactly? Namhuang Yunxi turned her gaze to Qin Wentian as she spoke. In the immortal realms, there are some people with heaven-defying physiques with unparalleled talent. In our city of ancient emperors, there are many such geniuses. However, there are also many people who have shocking potential and are able to establish a unique physique. It's just that they have yet to fully awaken their potential. The stronger the physique, the more difficult it is to establish a casting body, and the more terrifying it would be. The situation before us is very similar to the rumors of casting body. Does this mean that the person before us is a supreme character who wants to establish a casting body for everyone? Qin Wentian exclaimed. You are thinking too much. How can a casting body be so simple? It's already extremely good if there's even one person who succeeds. The prerequisite for a casting body is that stellar martial cultivators must first have shocking potential. Namhuang Yunxi rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. If my guess isn't wrong, this place is really a casting body. In that case, the degree of terror of this inheritance wouldn't lose out to the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. To obtain the inheritance, one must first succeed in establishing a casting body. How shocking is this? Namhuang Yunxi was ranked number 3 on the Immortal Ascension rankings. Even she felt shock in her heart. However, Qin Wentian was already prepared in his heart. This inheritance was already extremely shocking. It wouldn't be strange if a casting body appeared. Chapter 943. The various geniuses quietly listened to Namhuang Yunxi's words. For those who had heard of the body casting technique before, they had also experienced that mysterious energy when they stepped into the golden light. They could faintly sense that what Namhuang Yunxi had said was true, that the miraculous scene before them was truly a body casting technique. If this is really a body casting technique, then that golden body. The gazes of the various experts turned to stare at the golden body floating in the air as their hearts pounded. This golden body is the physique you all need to complete the body casting technique. Once it's formed, it would allow supreme geniuses to have an unrivaled physique. To think that there would actually be such a hegemonic character in the city of ancient emperors being able to help geniuses with the body casting technique. Such an expert would definitely have a heaven-shaking physique, allowing the later generations to use the body casting technique. Also, this ancient emperor and the Brahma heavenly emperor stood opposite each other. Most probably, they were rivals in the past and both of them left behind their inheritances. How could they not be moved? The hearts of the various experts trembled. What sort of supreme character was the Brahma heavenly emperor? He killed 8 immortal emperors in the immortal realms alone, unexcelled in the world and unexcelled in the immortal realms. Who could obstruct him? But at this moment, everyone faintly felt that there was a supreme character who could stand equally against the Brahma heavenly emperor, leaving behind an inheritance here, waiting for someone to unearth it. When they thought of this, the hearts of everyone pounded as an intense sense of anticipation appeared in their hearts. The Brahma heavenly emperor's inheritance was split into 9 parts and the person who obtained it was merely one of the 9 inheritors. But this inheritance before their eyes, once the body casting technique was successful, it would be the only one. In addition, there might even be more good fortune after that. How could they not be moved? The various experts clenched their fists tightly as they stared at the golden body. Their eyes flashed with a blazing light. They had to succeed in the body casting technique and transform into a supreme existence like that golden body. For those who succeeded in the body casting technique, the probability of them becoming immortals was almost 100%. They would definitely step into the immortal foundation realm and after that, their combat prowess would be incomparably powerful, far surpassing those on the same level as them. This would allow them to continue their status as geniuses when they were at the celestial phenomenon realm. The prerequisite for all of this was that they had to succeed in the body casting technique. Is there a secret to casting the body? Jun Mingchen asked Namhuang Yunxi. His eyes flashed. He was also looking forward to it. This was a pure emperor's aura. His physique must also be an emperor's physique, possessing unparalleled abilities. Before this, they had all clearly felt the terrifying might contained within his golden body. It was extremely powerful. Body forging is just a legend. It's hard to come by even once in 1,000 years, so how could there be a secret to it? Even if there really was someone with the secret to body forging, do you think they would tell you? Namhuang Yunxi was incomparably arrogant as she glanced at Jun Mingchen, causing Jun Mingchen to stare blankly for a moment before smiling awkwardly. That's right, Namhuang Yunxi didn't have any. Even if she did, although Namhuang Yunxi was an ally, how could she be so close to him as to tell him the secrets of the body forging technique? Seems like I can only search for it myself. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. Thinking back to the words of the gray-robed old man, he was filled with curiosity towards this ancient emperor, who had contended against the Brahma heavenly emperor. It was just that he didn't know the title of this ancient emperor. I must definitely establish an unparalleled physique. At the side, the number 4 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Xianyang, was clenching his fists as a brilliant light gleamed in his eyes. Right now, Zi Daoyang and Wuxia had their own miraculous encounters. Namfeng Yunxi's physique was also extremely unique, while Qing was an innate immortal king. Although he cultivated the heavenly mystic mirror art, he had no advantage against these people. Only by forging an unparalleled physique would he have a chance of defeating them. The battle against Qing in the Xiao sect's territory caused Xianyang to feel extremely defeated. Xiao Lingyue, who was beside Xianyang, also had a sharp glint in her eyes. The hatred between her, Xianyang and Qin Wentian was extremely deep, yet they pretended not to notice it. This was because they knew that they had no way to deal with Qin Wentian. Right now Namhuang Yunxi, Qing, and Qin Wentian were the same alliance leader. How tyrannical was their strength? She, the number 6 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, was already the subject of much discussion in the city of ancient emperors. This was her chance. The various geniuses all had their own thoughts, but their conviction was the same. They wanted to establish an unparalleled physique and obtain the inheritance of an ancient emperor. Another group of geniuses stepped out, bringing with them an intense conviction as they flew towards the floating golden body, attempting to establish an unparalleled physique. Let's not waste any more time. Even if we fail, it's better to try again. Qin Wentian spoke. The geniuses around him all nodded in agreement, and after that, they all flew towards the golden light. The scene from before appeared once again. They seemed to be in a different space, and in their eyes, there was only that extremely ancient golden body that contained boundless might. That golden body was the perfect physique they needed to establish. If they succeeded, they would be able to transform into him, and their bodies would contain boundless might. Qin Wentian took a step out as a bright light flashed, penetrating into his body. That mysterious energy appeared once again, causing him to feel that his body was filled with an external source of energy. It was as though his perception of the golden body had grown stronger. This feeling grew stronger and stronger with each step he took, causing him to feel even more sensitive. Qin Wentian stepped out step by step. He was thinking that only after he successfully established his physique would he be able to truly walk to the side of the golden body. As he took each step, the light continued to blast into his body. Faint rumbling sounds rang out from his body, growing stronger and stronger. His perception of the golden body grew stronger as well, as though there was an ancient might pressing down on him. Thump, 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 thump. Qin Wentian meticulously sensed it. This feeling was extremely mystical. It felt like this wasn't his own heartbeat, but rather, he was sensing the heartbeat of the golden body, causing the changes in his body to occur. This feeling grew stronger and stronger. The thump, 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 thump. Qin Wentian felt as though there was a violent storm raging within his body. He even felt as though he was about to spit out a mouthful of blood. This level of might is so terrifying. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. The aura in his body was being pushed to the limits. His blood surged and rumbled unceasingly. Regardless of his body or his heart, a fearsome demonic might gushed forth from Qin Wentian, causing his aura to grow even stronger, unexcelled in this world. His roars shook the heavens. Qin Wentian stepped out once more. Only by advancing courageously would he be able to unravel the secrets hidden within the golden body. There was no secret formula, no other method, he could only try. White flames surrounded Qin Wentian's body and gradually emerged, as if trying to calm Qin Wentian's violent body. However, it was useless. The storm-like power seemed to penetrate his body and make him explode, completely destroying him. Rurar. The terrifying protective power of the demonic beast appeared, and Qin Wentian's robes were torn apart. His body seemed to grow larger, growing to a height of 300 meters. His aura grew even more powerful. He took a step forward, causing the heavens and earth to rumble, and the people around him coughed up blood. It was as though they were affected by his power, and could no longer withstand it. Once again, Qin Wentian took another step forward. With a thunderous boom, Qin Wentian felt that he was one step closer to the golden body. This was an extremely mystical feeling. He could clearly sense the immense might contained within the golden body. That was an incomparably pure might of an emperor. A might that could look down on everything beneath the heavens, possessing boundless might. But precisely because he could sense it more clearly, the pressure he had to endure grew even more terrifying. The energy that gushed into his body started to move, not under Qin Wentian's control. It was circulating on its own in a startling manner, as though it wanted to harmonize with the energy within the golden body. This caused Qin Wentian to truly understand the meaning of the word body forging. With every circulation, Qin Wentian would feel the aura in his body growing stronger by a notch. After a few more cycles, Qin Wentian's spirit and body were stretched taut to the extreme. Finally, with a deafening boom, his entire body trembled violently as he was flung through the air. All the sensations vanished in an instant, and the mystical energy transformed into the strongest backlash, wanting to crush Qin Wentian. Xianyang stood not far away from Qin Wentian. When he saw how ruthlessly Qin Wentian was flung through the air, a cold smile flickered in his eyes. After all, Qin Wentian was merely at the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. Although God's hand could increase his combat prowess, he was still lacking if he wanted to temper his body. The other silhouettes in the surroundings all silently mocked when they saw the scene of Qin Wentian being forced back. Even if they were forced back, they wouldn't have such a huge reaction. Seems like Qin Wentian clearly didn't have enough strength, yet he stubbornly persisted. At the very end, when he couldn't hold on any longer, he ended up in such a miserable state. Qin Wentian was truly in an extremely miserable state this time around. It felt as though his entire body was about to be penetrated by that energy. Fresh blood gushed out from his wounds as he lay on the ground, coughing out blood unceasingly. After which, he struggled to sit up and circulated his energy to regulate his breathing, gradually recovering from his injuries. Many people in the surroundings stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. So many people attacked, but it seemed that Qin Wentian was the only one who suffered the most. Could it be that this person truly lived up to his reputation? However, Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't care about what others thought of him. This time around he was extremely satisfied. He could already sense the power of his golden body, and the energy in his body was circulating on its own. This was clearly the manifestation of the initial stage of tempering his body. Sadly, he wasn't able to endure for too long and finally failed. But he believed that as long as he broke through his limits every time, he would eventually succeed. As for those who had mocking expressions on their faces, it was only because they were ignorant. They had no way to reach that level. Yet, they didn't know that if one wanted to wear the crown, one had to bear the weight of the crown. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.